Hopefully the image and the audio was okay. Seems fine. Time will tell. Oh, wow. I had a morning running errands with the kids. And now it's time to chill a little bit. After breakfast, I had a quick lunch just now. And I want to hang out with you people for a bit. Before the rest of the day picks up, let's take a break. Let's chill a little bit. Let's take the time to breathe. And give thanks. This life can be very messy, with many errands to run, many challenges and inconveniencing things, each to the degree that one would consider them an inconvenience. Here with you right now, afternoon. To take it in. And I'm hoping we will have a nice chill time. I am hoping we'll be able to give thanks, discuss perhaps some ideas, and maybe even be a little silent. Though that's something that would kill any video. It reminds me of that classical piece where it's just musicians put their hands, on their instruments down. I don't remember what the name of it is. 3 minutes and 11 seconds, 3 minutes and 14 seconds, something to that effect. It's a classical piece where there is no music played, and the music is the ambiance, the ambient sound of wherever the piece is being played. In a concert hall, reality speak without music. Now, I'm sure many people have, and thinkers and philosophers and psychologists having to do with music and the arts have perhaps dissected this piece. I don't doubt that perhaps the composer himself has said, when asked what he felt it was about and why he felt moved to write that piece. But to me, thinking of it right now on the fly, as I'm chilling here, is that you can find music in the ambient sound as well. Hey, good morning. How you doing, Deus Volt? Hi there. Good morning to you, sir. Or ma'am. Where are you at in the world? What have you been doing? How goes your Thursday or Friday? Deus Volt. That's a big little hat. Yes, it is, Matt. It's also not a little hat. It's something of a large hat, though it has no religious significance. Wait a sec, let's see. There we go. I'm doing great, thank you. Have a blessed day as well. That's lovely. So yeah, I don't wear a kippah. I don't wear a yarmulke, a skull cap. The hair of the Nazarite, which is from the Torah, takes precedence for me personally over the rabbinic yarmulke, which was not halacha to begin with. It was something that's based in the head coverings of the priests and the sages of old and the pious ones of old, Hasidim Rishonim. They would cover their hair, their head rather, and not walk even 4 cubits without a head covering. And it has practical reasons, it has Kabbalistic reasons, and everything in between. Hey, Shai Meiman is here, living a crazy life, living la vida loca. Monsters Inc., exactly, which I haven't seen. I've never seen any of the movies. Where did you study at university? Martin, good question. I did not. I went to film school. I completed 12 years of high school, but didn't take the final exams there. I took partial, part of that list. And I decided I didn't want to go to college, university. I didn't want that piece of paper to dictate what it is that I can or cannot do. I felt like that piece of paper is not something that should define my abilities. About 10 years later, I'm after yeshiva, I'm after the army, have gone through some dead-end, soul-crushing jobs that paid some bills, but they were not really work in retail, work in security, and it was a job and it was a living, and I was thankful for it in that sense. But nevertheless, I felt that I was wasting away as somebody who's a creative individual more so. So 10 years after high school, my woman goes, listen, what about screenwriting? People had been talking to me for a few years. Hey, look, man, maybe college and university after all. And I said, no. So film school at 28. So I'm a screenwriter. That's what I do. So that's what I studied. Monsters, Inc. is an excellent movie. So I've been told, and I also know that there are a few, or at least one or two sequels. And I've been told that they are good as well. It's something consistently good. Now, as for this, my woman bought it. I don't even know if she saw the movie, but she loved it and she bought it. And I'm wearing it. My woman is a woman of the theater. She has many props and things. Yeah. And where did you go to university, Martin? Do you have a degree? Do you have a major? Are you a professor? What's up? Where are you in the education realm? And those of you out there, give me in the chat, do you have high school? Do you have a certificate? Do you have a degree? And if so, you know, the bachelor's, master's, PhD. Shai says, listen, I've noticed that all kinds of religious people who preach or hate are just like an animal in the zoo that just doesn't like being there, or me being there, or doesn't like me at that moment. At that moment. Yeah, we have all kinds of moments, don't we? About the kippah, says Deus, the Christians actually do the opposite. Paul tells in one of his letters that men must pray without head covering, for they are God's glory. And the ladies should cover because they are men's glory. Okay. So let's see what the rationale here. They are God's glory. So no head covering. They are men's glory, and so covering. When the relationship is between the individual and the divine, you need to reveal. When the individual is between creation and creation, man and woman, there are things that need to be hidden or covered. And there's a great deal of talk in feminism and religious feminism about silencing. There's a great deal of talk about not being given a place. There are many different rabbinic laws of tzniut, modesty. And my woman wore a head covering for the first few years of our marriage, but then felt that it was not her. It wasn't truly who she was. She didn't feel like it was, she felt like a hypocrite wearing it. And so she stopped wearing it. And she said, how do you feel about that? I said, do what you will. I felt that despite my agreement with the fact that it's, let's say, men's glory or something interpersonal, that her God's glory as a woman took precedence over my glory as a man. I suppose that's how I saw it in this, through that lens. Shai says, studying history for a bachelor's. Ooh, voila. So what history? What period in history? Try salvia, saved my life. You know what? I haven't never thought of salvia. I've never thought, but salvia, from what I've heard, simply never seemed to me. I've heard it's either like really good or really bad. Something to those lines, to that effect. Tenebris has a master's in physics. And what area of physics in particular? What was your thesis about? None of the above, says fine weather. Love the hat, thanks, Tenebris. Handsome intellectual. Thank you, Josie. I appreciate the sentiment. Oh man, religious people are so stupid, says Shaimiman. I disagree on general principle, but okay. I'm not saying that the desire for spirituality and intimacy is stupid. So who are these stupid religious people as far as you're concerned? And you have a big forehead, I like that. Yes, I do. That's genetics. Genetics. Hi, any kangaroos on Noah's Ark, Mirinda says. Good question. It says that everything that lives, right, other than the marine animals, or maybe more specifically fish, but for all intents and purposes, marine animals. That's why fish is associated with fertility, in part anyway, because of that great influence of the flood on reality and the fact that the fish just swam along with it, so to speak. So were there kangaroos there? I would say, practically speaking, yes. And if you think of it, let's say, metaphorically, allegorically, archetypally, human beings as the stewards and caretakers of creation. Not necessarily there was a dude named Noah, every animal, there was a big flood, God was... No, just metaphorically speaking. It would be that idea of strengthening and solidifying the thought that started in Eden of mankind, of humanity, being God's glory and being the stewards and caretakers of creation, dominion on all creation, physical and spiritual alike. So I would say yes and no. Theo says, exactly, God is a God of love, not of oppression. He will eventually lead us into righteousness. I'm glad you found the head covering while praying interesting. Schofield, hey, do you have any work? I just want to earn $300. I myself am looking for work right now. I was let go a couple of weeks ago from my job after more than 11 years. And I'm looking for work right now. So you and I are both on the prowl. All periods is a degree, my brother. I just finished ancient Greece. Yes, but I mean within the degree, what were you focusing on? Ancient Greece, okay. China throughout all periods and Europe. So history as a bachelor's is all periods. And later you want to get deeper into something and it's a master's and a PhD after that. Gotcha. General astrophysics, then rocket space travel, says Tenebris. So general astrophysics, rocket space travel. Now at that point, unless you're talking about the actual propellant and what is in the rocket technically and practically, and travel is more the thing, is it a lot more theoretical? Or is it the more close to home Apollo missions, Mariner, or the ones that went back and forth? Anyway, the ones that went back home, or that were just in. How am I? Hey, Luke Miller, good to see you, man. I'm doing well, thank God. I give thanks and praises to the Most High God on this lovely afternoon in Jerusalem. I think these are people, says Shai, who feel trapped in a need for spirituality and intimacy that has not been met, and therefore have chosen the dogmatism offered by religion. And if at least the need is not met, they will have some kind of armor of justification and self-righteousness. Is it only justification and self-righteousness? Also, there's nothing particularly wrong with that justification, I think, depending on the individual. I think that there are those who may have their needs not met, but are content nevertheless because of their just, disposition, their psychology, their way of looking and experiencing the world, looking at and experiencing the world. Maybe for them it's a justification that is enough. Maybe for others, it's a justification that still leaves you empty and maybe bitter and resentful as a result of that. I don't know. As for self-righteousness, best avoided. And if it brings someone to that and they use it as an armor, I don't want to make any broad generalizations, but that's just not a good place to be in, I think. Because then not only are the needs not met, but there's also this thing of self-righteousness, which is not always applicable and which can actually harm the quality of the spiritual connection that you are trying to attain and the intimacy that you desire. Giselle asks, do you believe in demons? Yes, I do. Scrolling down. Yes, I do. Why on earth are you doing this to yourself? You must have serious issues. Yeah, we all have issues, don't we? And I have mine. We all have things to deal with in this world. So I'm doing this because, I mean, this you mean wearing the hat, this you mean live streaming a bit outside, this you mean the entire channel, this you mean who I am as a person. Could you be more specific? Freedom, hey Gargamel, haven't seen you in a bit. It's good to catch you live. When you believe you are perfect, you're usually evil. There's something to that. There's definitely something to that. I would assume the amount of people who indeed are perfect to the degree that one can be and really say that they're perfect. A lot of them are evil and some of them are very, very good. Happy Place Islam. Dude, where is Muhammad? He said he did not know where God would send him. So, talking to Jews don't claim they are perfect, says Tenebris to Freedom to Gargamel. Why are you talking about religion, asks Manur? Because this is a channel that deals with religion, faith, spirituality, self-development, exchange of ideas, psychology, philosophy, movies, TV, underarm farts, boogers. Pretty much anything you throw in the chat, it's up for discussion. Pardon me. I am a Jew, it wasn't directed to Jews. We live in a pretty amazing society. This morning I was running errands, forms to fill out, and lines to wait in, and a government office. I had to do some stuff for me and the two younger kids. And those moments where it was just me and two little ones, 3 and under. It's challenging, but as a wise person said, I'd rather my hands be full than empty. Hang on a sec. Shai says, clearly, my brother, this is not a good place. Religion is something that distances you from simple love and simple faith. And it runs on paranoia and animal fear rooted in the trauma of mortality and exaggerates nationalism. Oh, and exaggerates it, the trauma of mortality and the fear rooted in that. I told you I believe that religion and nationalism belong in a museum, not in a healthy routine. Yes, you have said that. And you're giving a very good reason why that should be the case. Much respect for the Monsters Incorporated. Thanks, Costa. How you doing, man? It's good to see you. I saw a short of you putting up scaffolding and then of you at the beach. Or not, well, not the beach, but in the water. I do like to pass grass, says Roberto. Good. It's good to pass gas. Fart proudly. Hello, by the way. Hello to you, Robert. Or Robert? Yeah, Robert. So where are you at? Lovely hat, Jacob. Thank you. See, I didn't see Monsters Inc. I don't know if this is Jacob or if you're referring to me as Jacob. Eighth like, my dude. Thanks, appreciate that. Do you think the Exodus actually happened, or was it just legend since Canaan was ruled by Egypt at the time? I'm good either way. I'm good if it actually happened, and I'm good if it's a fairy tale, and that I need to gain wisdom from it and have it speak into the future. So I think both. Manur says, oh, Noor. That reminds me of George Costanza. Everyone has their own believe, but above everything, we are humans. Agreed. Hey, David Rogers is here. How you doing? What is with that thumbnail? You tell me. What is with the thumbnail? Deo says, have a nice day, sir. I need to go. I will pray for you and your family. Pray for me as well. Many blessings to you from Jerusalem. It's nice to hang out with you. May the Lord bless us and guide us. May the peace of Yeshua be with us all. Indeed, I mean, I'm not a Christian, but I appreciate the sentiment. Kennedy, how you doing, man? Good to see you again. Hope you're doing well. I am indeed. I'm doing pretty well. If I can sit here in the middle of the day, in the summer, in the shade, in my own yard, and listen, no sirens going off, no mortar shells falling, no gunfire, no planes zooming over with a payload. Things right now over here, by the grace of the Most High, are indeed very good. And we all have things to deal with, and we all have our shenanigans in life, some self-inflicted and some hereditary, some just circumstance. And nevertheless, here I am, live, raw, from Jerusalem, unscripted and unfiltered with you good people. And if I can do that, it means that things are okay. And I am so thankful for the ability to spend some time with you this afternoon. Hello, grateful, says Smoochie. I don't know if you're talking to someone grateful or saying grateful, but okay. Dylan says, this also came, but less like a thief in the night. What came? Who came? What? East Coast. Nice. I've got family on the East Coast. Haven't been there in a while. UCAT, are you Jewish? Yes, I am. Yes. Scrolling down. Some problems are historical. Yes, some are historical with you as an individual. Some are historical as in like generational. Like I said, you know, some are genetic, some are hereditary. What is difference in Elohim and Adonai? Elohim is more closely associated with the left side, the left hand. What's called judgment, wrath. It also corresponds with the feminine, higher and lower, mother and daughter. Adonai is twofold because Adonai written that way, Aleph Daled Nun Yod Adonai, that corresponds to the lower feminine as well, and to the kingship, the Malchut. And there is also the name of the Yod Hei Vav Hei, the Tetragrammaton, the four-letter name that is pronounced Aleph Daled Nun Yod. And some say it's to begin with, and some say that it is in lieu of the explicit name, Shema Meforash. The major difference is the sfirot that they are attributed with, and that they are associated with, attributed to and are associated with. Each and every sfira has a name like this, and a different name within the Tetragrammaton, Yod Hei Vav Hei, with a different punctuation. So it also corresponds to that. So the differences are many, but that's just tip of the iceberg. Hey, Asher Simone is here. My favorite stream, Hebrew lore from days of yore. Huzzah! So nice. People, check out Asher Simone. Oh, whoops. Wait. Sorry. Okay. Asher Simone's channel. Hang on. Okay. His channel. He is a musician. He's got some beautiful original songs. Truly, including one to Ahmed Al-Ahmed, who at the Bondi Beach shooting in Australia just rushed in and disarmed one of the perpetrators. Two friends of mine from Australians who were here in Jerusalem, and they wrote a song for Ahmed Al-Ahmed. And like I said, that is original, other original music, this very lovely acoustic folksy sound, sometimes with someone who's there with him, and they harmonize very beautifully. So if you like good music, check out his channel. Hebrew lore from days of yore, indeed. I am trying to stand on the shoulders of giants. Why Muslim and Jewish are each other enemy, says Manwar. First of all, you could say sibling rivalry, like in the case of Edom and Jacob, and Edom and Israel, right? Esau and Jacob. There is Ishmael and Isaac. You could go with that. Very simple. Sibling rivalry, because they attribute themselves to the house of Ishmael, so to speak, more often than not. The I think that the enmity comes from the basic idea that Islam is more closely associated with the left pillar, with the pillar of the sword. Israel is more the center. And there are indeed parts of Israel as the center, where Christianity would be on the right pillar. There are certain attributes in Israel that are also very close to that Islamic sword. That call of Islam to submit, that's literally what Islam means, submission. It also mirrors that kind of submission that is within the people of Israel. So the question is, what is it that you are submitting to? What is the lens through which you are viewing your texts, your holy books, your law, halakha, sharia? People talk about this war and they say that it's about territory and it's about a state. It's not about that. A state of Palestine could have been established like a dozen times in the last 80 years. It's about the eradication of Israel as a state. And it's about the Israeli insistence, not Uganda, not Kimberley, not the Soviet Union, here. Not all of Israel shares this. It's a facet of Israel that holds to that sword that clashes with the sword of Islam. It's more of a spiritual war. It's more of an ideological war. One major difference, I think, is that Islam is something that holds, unless I'm mistaken, that everybody eventually must fall under the banner of Islam except Allah as a prophet and the Quran as the final testament and word of God. The Hebrew faith does not have that, and therein lies a fundamental difference. And I think that difference can be seen throughout the generations. And I think it's a difference that also has to do with Christianity on the other pillar. Before that's what I'll say. Okay. Imagine if people let go of their ideology, says Smoochie. All of it completely? Throw the baby out with the bathwater? What about the parts of the ideology that could bring about unification? What about the parts of ideology that can be anchored in something that is outside of humanity and thus able to influence humanity in a way where they alone could not attain? There are some mitzvahs, there are some commandments, like thou shalt not murder. Pretty obvious, natural morality, we would have figured that one out anyway. There are others like dietary laws, where it's not necessarily we would have figured it out, but now that it's there, we see the rationale. You are what you eat, separating forces of right from left and keeping a balance, milk and meat don't mix, that whole thing. And then there is that ideology and those commandments that you would not have thought on your own, and it doesn't even make sense to you at all. Things like the red heifer, things like the shatnez, the mixed wool and linen. You would not have come up with that on your own, nor does it make any sense. There are those facets that are above sense, and this is partly what the Torah is there to imply. There are things that you can perceive with your intellect. There are things which you can understand and internalize with your intellect and have them manifest in your life. And then there are things that are just outside of your comprehension, and you are still commanded to go through with them in order to connect with that is above your current state. We are limited in many things, physically and spiritually. And in the very same way that you can construct apparatuses to elongate your visual spectrum, we have telescopes and microscopes to help us see really far or really, really close or near. and the spiritual tools that we build and the metaphysical apparatuses that we construct, they make us able to perceive that which we earlier could not. This war of ideology, which, like I said, it's an ideological war. Hence, I'm assuming what you said here, that imagine if people let go of their ideology. I will say, to what degree? To what degree? I don't want to throw that baby out with the bathwater myself. Scrolling down. Smoochie says, yes, so much truth, let go of the labels. Darkness, says John. Is John? Hi, John. Kuro says, Torah, Quran, Bible, books by humans for humans to control humans. I disagree only with the end. It's books by humans for humans to give people that shot. And yes, there is that controlling element that comes into being, and that corrupt element, and that dominating element, and that confusing element, and that opiate of the masses element, that elites, that clergy that knows it all. All of that is there. All of that is there because we live in a world of good and evil. We live in a world of good and evil, and as such, evil is present even in the things that are good. Consider the yin-yang, right? The Taoist symbol, where you have the dark and the black and the white and the black. And the good path goes in between. War is war. Ideology is an excuse. I would think maybe it's the other way around. In some way, it can be the other way around as well. Boger says, I'm wondering why God would have a chosen people in the first place. So I don't go with the chosen people rhetoric, phrasing. I go with, we were selected to keep the Torah and the commandments. We opted and selected the Torah and the commandments in turn. And no better than any other nation on the face of the earth, no better than any other human, no better than any other earthling in the final analysis, though we can be. Why elevate a bloodline or chosen people and not care for all equally? So I think that there is a revelation of God that cares for everyone equally, and that is a higher one than the level that would care simply for Israel, because that's lower. In Eden, there was no Israel and nations or chosen ones or selected ones other than humanity. And so if we consider Eden to be something of an original plan, a blueprint. Do you have an understanding of the Holy Trinity? No, because I'm not Christian. And I know that there's a whole mystery, literally a mystery connected with the Trinity, and I would not presume to speak of it. All I will say is that I spoke to someone in the DMs. Incidentally, if you want to hit me up in the DMs, Hebrew Nazarite across the board, look for my tree, X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Someone wanted to talk to me about the Trinity in the DMs, and I said, shoot. And they said, okay, doesn't this verse speak of the Trinity? And I said, no, the Hebrew understanding is X. And I said, okay, I can see that one. What about that verse? Does it speak of it there? And I said, well, the Hebrew interpretation is that it's X or Y. And he said, okay, I'll concede that one. And for a third one, that again happened, and he said he concedes it as well. The different lens through which I, as a Hebrew man, view Torah, and a different Hebrew man or a Christian would be viewing it is very different. Very, very different. All, God willing, leading back to the same place. But, yeah, the Trinity is not something that is a Hebrew concept. Are you Muslim? No, I'm not. Who is it? John? No, John 1, I'm not Muslim. Don't talk about Trinity, Jew, says FDF. Well, someone brought it up, and I have no understanding of it. And what I said was that I have a Hebrew understanding of things, and somebody who holds to the Trinity has their Trinitarian and Christian understanding of things, and that's okay. Hey, Milosh is in the house. Darth Vader is back. How you doing, Darth Vader? How you doing, Milosh? Great to see you again. He makes people very happy. He's a miracle in his... Oops. It was just for review. I don't know what. Oh, the chat jumped. In his own right, he's cool. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but yes, indeed. What's up, Darth Vader? My lord. Service mouth? Do you mean mouth service? As in lip service? Jeremy spoken. I heard a Jewish guy the other day. He said Israel is a people, not a place. No, it definitely is also a place and a kingdom. The kingdom of Israel had territory. The place called Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, is first mentioned as such in context of, if I'm not mistaken, the after the kingdoms split. Right? Na'ara me'eretz Yisrael. Though I might be mistaken. Maybe there is an even earlier one. The one I'm thinking of is at the times of the prophet Elisha, the student of Elijah, of Eliyahu. And the king of Aram, if I'm not mistaken, had biblical leprosy. Oh, no. His general. I don't remember his name. His general had leprosy. Elisha did what he did. A people, not a place. So the land of Israel is mentioned there. Land of Israel is likely even mentioned before that, and it's simply escaping my memory right now. But it is a people, and it is a place. No, I'm not, Jeremy. I'm not a rabbi. I'm not a rabbi, not a sage, not a scholar. I try to be a Hebrew of the Torah. So no. So it is about the land. No, it isn't, Stephen. It's not about the land. It's not about the land. I think it's more of an ideological, religious thing. The land is inherently connected, or it's not about the land. It's about the potential of the land. It's about what the land symbolizes. I don't exactly know how it will come to pass, under what circumstances, but we will have justice here, and peace here, and love here eventually. Shai says, I think the role of cynicism is to bring spirituality and cynicism is to bring spirituality and simple love. The role of cynicism, okay? And therefore it is not largely religious, even if it grew on the waves of religious movements, although it was mistaken in that its own nationalism became a religion, unavoidable, right? Seemingly unavoidable. And that this was a great pride of the 20th century. There is something to that, even though nationalism has existed before. I definitely do think that with the fall of the different empires after World War I, and that whole period coming to an end, it could definitely be something that was seen as the continuation in the sense of negative nationalism, if you will. The kind that belongs in a museum, as you put it. Nuns, hi nuns. What do Jewish people, I told you earlier, hi. If I didn't, hello, hi. Hi there. What do Jewish people believe that God's purpose is for them? To keep the Torah and the commandments. That is what we are doing here as Hebrew men and women. In very simple terms, that's what it is. On larger terms, it's to bring about, as other humans do as well, the unification of the divine masculine and feminine presence. To make this place a vessel, and a greater vessel than it even was in Eden originally. Eventually to become such a vessel as that will be able to take on that fruit of the tree of life. Can I ask what you think of sacrificing something innocent to remove one's sin, says Jim West? I think that first of all, we should care for all earthlings, and I do believe that the third temple will be a vegan temple, a house of love and prayer and worship for all humanity. All earthlings, for that matter. And I think that sacrificial offerings were not something that was commanded in Eden. It's something that came afterwards, and with the flood, after the flood rather, reinforced by the allowance of eating meat. Sacrificial offerings at the time when they were the thing to do and commanded by the Torah, when the temple was standing and all of that. It was supposed to mirror something to you about the processes that are going on in yourself, in your being, physically and spiritually, mentally. The temple's ritual worship is supposed to bring about the unification of the divine masculine and feminine presence in the world and awaken the higher unity of the mother and father, the higher feminine, the higher masculine. What we do here matters. What we do here counts. Divine influence comes down here, and we shoot it back up, and it makes a great deal of disturbances, for better or worse. There's a cyclic element to it, like water turning into vapor, turning into clouds, turning into rain. Ritual sacrifices at the time facilitated this connection of the divine masculine and feminine presence. Whether it was a peace offering, whether it was a sin offering, whether it was a thanksgiving, whether it was vegetarian, whether it was animal, whether it was incense or fire burning on the candelabra, the menorah, or the bread. That's what it was all aiming at. Taking it over here to this modern day and age, I think that we can transcend the ritual worship, transcend the sacrificial offerings. And if a third temple is built, may it be a vegan one and a means to an end. And if it's built and at first there are sacrificial offerings, and then let it be. Let it be, I say. Because we would have come to a place as the nation of Israel and maybe all humanity, if that third temple is indeed a house of love and prayer and worship for all mankind. It means that we have already come to that place where we are doing it the way it needs to be done, taking everything into account, everything very precise and surgical, the right thoughts at the right place at the right time, the right behavior, knowledge of God abounding, no need to fight or bicker. World peace facilitates this, or maybe it's the other way around, I don't know. Sacrificial offerings, we are the sacrifice. We are that offering, we are born to die. And death came into being in Eden, and we have a job to do in Eden, and we need to go back there, this time with our own merit, by our own doing, by the sweat and blood of our very being. We would have arrived back in Eden. The sacrificial offering, maybe it will come and maybe not. But I think that if sacrificial offerings of animals are a thing, yet again, as a means to an end, I think that we've already arrived at that place of elevation, where even the animal itself knows that this is its purpose, and it goes to it happily and gladly, knowing it's fulfilling its purpose. Because if creation can be elevated through the temple, through world peace, through world love, and it definitely can, that might just mean that even before partaking of the fruit of the tree of life and arriving back in Eden, when we're still in that in-between place where the temple has been reinstated and reestablished, the Sanhedrin and the monarchy, let's say, are here, everything falling into place, I think there's something to that is so unfathomable that I'm willing to say, and I say this as a vegan, right, who cares about earthlings and hasn't had meat I was a vegetarian before that, so close to 20 years. Been vegan for 16 years. Taking that into account, whether it matters or not, I don't know. It matters to me, but I will say that is something that is part and parcel of this world. And maybe that's the way for that animal to die. Purposefully, with intent of the human being and the animal. How will we be able to perceive this? I don't know. Elevation, Morpheus. Elevation. In that, and that's how it will be, I know. That's kind of how I see it happening in my fantasy. Looks like he takes himself too seriously. Oh, hey, 3. No, not at all. Not too seriously, if you're talking about me. I have times when it's serious, but even then, I know that seriousness is temporary. Yes, Matrix guy. Exactly, just a chillin' guy. Chilly guy? Chilly or chillin'? Chill guy. Hi, just a chill guy. Good to see you again. Do you like Sephardic music? The things I've heard, yes, I love the Sephardic reading of the Torah. Na 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 na. Yep, that's like Sephardic reading. I love chili. Kamalish says, if you want to increase your likes, post something on live that reflects your personal experiences, interests, passions, and knowledge. Share things that inspire people to learn and think. So no, I'm not looking to increase my likes. Post something on live that reflects your personal experience. Share things that inspire people to learn. Oh, so what you're saying is I should like pin a message with something general. That's not a bad idea. You know what? That's not a bad idea. I like that idea of posting a sticky. The thing is, will it be a sticky? In other words, I post the same thing every time I go live. This is the line. This is the joke. Jerk store. Jerk store is the line. Jerk store. Where's that from, people? Tell me. Do you live in Israel? Yeah, I do, Bogart Bird. Does the Western world's dropping public support of Israel worry you? No, it does not worry me. We don't think he was white, says Nance. Okay. Freedom says longest prayers ever. Sorry, my Sephardic brothers. Yeah, I mean, some people like to belt it out. Sephardic, Ashkenazi, Yemenite. Some people like to belt it out. And some people are in the congregation going, oh. Cool hat, brother. Thanks, Alperex. Alperex? Hi, Alp. I want to get a drink of water. Hey, should I be a total nut job and drink right out of the hose? Probably. I should probably drink right out of the hose. Would you like to see me drink out of a water hose? Are you a Gentile slave or a chosen one? I am not of the nations. I am not chosen, and I seek to be a slave to the Most High God. But that's what I seek. FDF says, why is a Jew talking about what Jesus think? Or does why are you people do that, Tenebris? We can wait for you, bro. Get your water. Okay, wait, we have a yes to drinking from the hose. I'm assuming that's the drinking from the hose, right? Okay. Yes. Should we wait for another one? It's probably hot and gross. Exactly. That's why I'm offering. Because I'm hot and gross. He said before he believes Jesus lived a kosher life, he just doesn't believe he was the Messiah. That is correct. Not a Messiah, not a king. A guy, a good guy, a righteous guy. I like eating kosher cow tongue. Yes, many people do enjoy tongue. So, it's true. My favorite religious fanatic. Hello, hi, Skinny Tubs. I'm a fanatic. People, I don't know how many of you in the 41 people watching are regulars or casual viewers. You people, am I a religious fanatic? Give me a yes or no in the chat on that one, because I'm sorry. Are you talking to me? No, Skinny talking to me. Okay. So Jesus isn't in hell. I don't think Jesus, first of all, Jews have no hell. Second of all, no, I don't believe that he is in hell to the degree that it exists, or, Gehinnom. I believe if he was, then his time has been served, and that he lived a righteous life, and is a dead man, right? A righteous dead guy. And he ascended. Yes, there is that in the Hebrew Bible as well. Hanoch ascended, Eliyahu ascended, people were resurrected. The one thing I don't go with is saying, and Jesus is also God. That's where I draw the line. Okay. Glenn Salk or Salch, why does Jewish days differ from Jewish scientific view? Because when it says heaven and earth, it doesn't mean this sky, and it doesn't mean this earth. If you're talking about, let's say, the light that appeared before there was a sun, and the earth and the grass that was there on the third day of creation, and the sun and the moon showing up later, it's the divine revelation called earth. It's the divine revelation called grass. It's the divine revelation called sun and moon. The days of creation are a blueprint for this cycle. The cycle is 7,000 years, where some saying it's one complete cycle of 7, and we are in the third one, in the middle of towards the end of the second one, right? So 7 times 7,000 years. Like the Jubilee, 7 times 7, and then the 50th is the Jubilee, right? With the Sabbath of the land, the Shemitah. The days of creation are there to teach you something about life and about the way that God operates in the world. It's there to teach you something about who you are, where you come from, and what is it that you are meant to do in this world. And I think part of the idea of the human being created from earth, and earth coming before the sun and the moon, is to help keep us grounded, and the men and women of the Hebrew faith, right, to be grounded in Torah and the commandments. The idea of the earth missing the mark, and then on the sixth day, mankind missing the mark, and we were created from that earth. The scientific view doesn't fly in the face of the account of creation in Genesis, right? There's a Dr. Rabbi Schroeder who wrote Genesis and the Big Bang, and he shows the correspondence and the overlap between the scientific view and the account of creation, and how it's linear with different space-time dilations, yes, but nevertheless linear, like the space-time continuum itself. Scrolling down. Oh, I'll see you again. Okay. Glenn says, God can't lie and can't be wrong. Either the word of God is the law or science is the law. Which one is right, God or science? Well, I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me through creation. So when you say that God can't lie, I attribute it to that place called truth, that divine attribute called truth. Incidentally, God definitely can lie, or rather the divine revelation can lie. In very famous cases in the Bible, first there was Sarah laughing, saying, "My master, right? My man is old. Avram is old. He wasn't Abraham yet. Avram is old." Wait, was he Abraham? No. Yes. I'm sorry. He was Abraham, because Ishmael was born. He was circumcised. At any rate, she said, "Abraham is old, and I'm going to give birth." And when the divine revelation relates this to Abraham, they say Sarah laughed and said, "I'm so old. How can I have, not you're so old, not my man is old, I am old." And there are different ways to interpret the verse, of course, but the plain text is that God changed something. He lied. That is not what Sarah said. Sarah said he is old. The divine revelation told Avram, she said she was old. There's a divine revelation that can bend the truth under the right circumstances. So when you say can't be wrong and can't lie, I don't know God. If you say God can't lie, God can't be wrong, that implies a truth and being right. And that means a duality. And that's immediately not God. As far as I'm concerned, all I can perceive and relate to are revelations of God. And they come in all shapes and forms and sizes down the 10 Sfirot. The word of God in and of itself, the word dibur or amira, pertain also to different divine revelations, which mean different things and correspond to different divine elements. And I don't see a contradiction between science and the account in creation. Because when you say word, when you say law, I think of these things as divine attributes. By the time things come down here, they're subject to this world and its constraints. Some can be bent, others can be broken. It's different from how it appears, so to speak, in the root of things. If you give me a scenario, then I'll tell you. Yeah, you told me. Oh, well, I didn't see that other people said it, but I went then to 4G. Still? Okay, cool. My woman here to make sure that the reception is good. Apparently some people have bad reception, or I have bad transmission. The bitrate might be off. My apologies. It's not me, it's YouTube. Harry Platypus hat would better, says L87. Hi, L87. Know the unknown. I like that. That's very Taoist of you. If liberation from suffering is possible, understanding dependent conditions and transforming the mind, there are no absolutes. I would say like you could do that in 90-something% of cases, but no absolutes as far as I'm concerned. And the practical necessity of a personal God is questioned. Well, I would say the way God works through your body and your mind, right? You say understanding conditions, transforming the mind. I believe those two are divine revelations. I believe that if the divine was not sending and bringing forth that influence, that emanation, everything would cease from being. Everything would go back to tohu vavohu, as it says. Explain how science fits with creation. Okay, I don't purport to be able to do this well, but there is a linear progression in the account of Genesis, and there is a linear progression in the account of science. That is how. But if you have a specific question, because that's too broad, let's continue. Glenn says, why do you talk about God like you know him when you just got done saying you don't know God? Are you delusional? First of all, of course I'm delusional. Second of all, no, I know God. It's a question of divine revelation. And from the chair, you know the carpenter. Something to that effect. Meaning, there is a life-sustaining energy in the world. And it mutates and it changes forms. Think of it as a lighting fixture, right? Where you have different filters or different cellophanes of red and purple and yellow and blue. There's pure light. Put a yellow thing on it, it will project yellow. Put a blue thing on it, it will project blue. And you might make the mistake of thinking, because you're looking through it, that the bulb is blue. But no, the bulb is pure white light. So I don't know God. What I know is the divine influence, the divine revelation. That is all I know. And I know what's been handed down through tradition. Were the divine revelation to cease, were the divine emanation to stop, the world would go back to tohu vavohu. That is the tradition. Or something close to that. But that does not mean I know God, not even a little. I'll never know God, ever. Not even a bit, not even a little, not even a... Nothing. I find people who deny creation very stupid. Really? Why do you find people who deny creation very stupid? I'm curious. Why are you Jew? AK187. Because I grew up Jewish, and in my teenage years, I came to terms after years of soul searching that this is something I want to continue, and this is a tradition that I want to cling to and cleave to and carry out. That is why I am a Jew. I'm also a Jew, technically, biologically born to Jewish parents of the kingdom of Judah. And that is why I'm a Jew. Hello, Rabbi Pokemon. Hi, I'm not a rabbi. Good to see you again. Nan says, the Talmud uses different names, so saying all is Jesus is inaccurate. Agree, then there is no consensus. There is no consensus among the researchers and the commentaries of the academics on Yeshua Notzri mentioned in the Talmud being that guy, being Jesus that the Christians follow as Lord, Savior, and so on. No consensus. Just a Chill Guy says, I don't agree with his beliefs, but I find the things he says interesting and valuable. Well, again, I appreciate the sentiment. And remember, this is not me. I might give my own spin on things, but this is not me. This is Hebrew lore from days of yore. I'm just trying to stand on the shoulders of giants here. I dare say that it has had a lot of interest to me personally and has been of great benefit and value to me personally. It's not how color works, chap. When you see red, red is what's missing from spectrum of light, because the object you're looking at absorbs all the waves of red light. So you're seeing what is missing. That's even better. And it's not, let's see, hang on a second. When you see red, red is what's missing. The object you are looking at absorbed all the waves. Absorbed all the waves. The object you are looking at absorbed all the red light. And what I'm looking at is missing. I don't know, Glenn. I don't know if that's... Well, let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. How do you perceive it? I'm not talking about how color works. I'm talking about perception. If you're saying you're perceiving that which is missing, Missing from where? Maybe I'm misunderstanding you. Hang on. Missing from spectrum of light. I'm going to have to think about that. I don't want to take up too much time over here. People, if somebody else understood what Glenn was saying and can dumb it down for me, I'm ignorant. I'm trying to understand what he's saying. All I said was that the divine is revealed in many ways. To us, they are perceived as yellow, blue, and green, red. But the source is something very singular. White light. Unbroken. Not in the spectrum. A beam of light, if you will. And he's saying what we are seeing is what's missing. I'm going to try and with some more. The light is not green. Green is the color blocked. No, I understood. I said green is the color blocked. Okay. So, like I said, that made more sense to me if it's what's missing. Because what you are looking for, wait a minute, baby. What you are looking for, what you are seeking, let's say, in some way. What, is Itai awake? What? He's asleep? Okay. What are you doing? You're watching TV? You're going to go shopping? That's lovely. A snack? What a considerate kid. Thanks a lot, man. Not a real one. A pretend one. Just hand it over. Oh, no, you'll stay there. I'll come in. I think I'll come in soon. If you want to give it to me now, give it to me now. If you want. Okay. Yes. Here, give it to me now, please. Thank you so much.
It's chips.
It's very good. It's chips? That's lovely.
It's hot.
It's hot chips? You mean spicy or warm? It's like, okay. Whoa, it's a spicy chip.
So wait.
I need to wait. If I blow on it, will it be better? Okay. Okay. Right, so if we are talking about the divine revelation being something that can be manifested in different colors, and if we're saying that the colors that we perceive are actually what we do not perceive and what is blocked, that's even better. Because what we are aiming at is something that is above our capacity to truly see and experience. Now man shall see me and live. That's why it makes sense. And what we are seeing is what's missing. So we're not really seeing it. You see what I'm saying? Your light receptors translate that information from what's missing. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. I like it even more now. I do like it even more. Elite 7 says, I'm Ashkenazi and Mizrahi, and I come from Judah and Aaron. So are you a priest or a priest's daughter? Or a priestess? I don't hate any of you, but I do pray for you. Thanks, most appreciated. Kenneth is here, says, Jesus is king. Well, he can be your king. That's all well and good. He's not my king. I did not crown him or anoint him, and nor did the people of Israel at any time. Jen says, why do you often speak English when you're living in Israel? No. We're all Israeli, born and raised in Israel. But English is something that before we had the kids, my wife was like, I'll do the Hebrew, you do the English. I said, cool. So that's how it goes down, because we want to teach them to be bilingual like we are. My wife and I are both English Hebrew natives. So I'm actually seeing you, says FDF. Well, you're not actually seeing me, you're seeing a digital projection of me, but yes, you're seeing everything that I'm not. That's my father's thing. Feeling lousy today, says Kieran. Do something to cheer me up. You could be my only hope. Okay. A fine romance with no kisses. A fine romance, my friend. This is. We should be like two clams in a dish of chowder. Oh, but we just feel like syphilis powder. Oh, a fine romance, my good fellow. You take romance and I'll take jello. You never give my orchids a tender glance. No, you prefer cactus plants. This is a fine romance.
Bye-bye.
You're leaving? See ya. Oh, it fell. There. I hope it cheered you up a little bit. I love cactus plants. Nice. Thanks, Rakesh. May Allah guide you, says truth claim. Well, give us some claimed truth, truth claim. Cardinal direction sits on a topographical plane. Welcome to flat Earth. Well, if it's topographical, isn't it with bumps and kinks and things like the map is? I might be mistaken. Yes, there's a conceptual flat Earth. When people ask me if I'm a flat earther, I say that physically it's a globe, right? A spherical globe, something like that. And conceptually it's flat. That is correct. And the four corners of the Earth correspond to the four directions, to the four-letter name of God, to the four elements, to the four seasons, so on and so forth. Looking good in a shirt. Hi, good to see you again, man.
I'm taking this water.
Lovely. Do you have water in it?
Yeah.
Lovely. Hey, you listen to your mama. Okay? Yes, yes, of course. I'll go inside. I'll go inside, okay? And I'll be able to hear him. I'm on baby duty. Boys, both of you heard me? You'll listen to your Ima? Good. Okay, let's go inside, people. Oh. Wait, is the crown prince asleep? Is he asleep? Did he leave? Is he asleep? The crown prince. He's awake and grumpy. Okay. Oh, good, good, good. Be right with you, people. Hang on. Okay, let's do this. Whoa. All right, let's set up over here. Papa needs a drink of water. Come and have a drink of water with me. That thing, it was hot under that thing. Hang on. Oh, okay. Whew. I mean, I loved wearing it, but it's hot. Hot and heavy. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to set you people down here for just a moment while I grab a drink of water. And you can take a look at this. All right. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. Yofi. Oh, okay. So wait, let's get. I don't need the phone now. Okay. Yes, as I was saying, I don't need the phone now. I can go to YouTube on the laptop and see what's up with you chumps over there. Just got a message from my mama that there may be a job offer for me. Nothing fine, of course, just something she saw. That's nice. Thank you, mama. Make sure you keep your house kosher. Yes, we keep a vegan vegetarian household, so it is always kosher. Boop. Come on. All right. Tenebris and Glenn going arguing physics with a physicist. Oh, you know what? Now I want to scroll back and read it. Can someone catch me up to speed here on the Tenebris dialogue? Rasta Jewish basically says Nans. I've been called a Jewish Rasta. Now the Rastas, the religious ones, take the Nazarite vow. And I have taken the Nazarite vow. Hang on a second. And so that's, and they have a claim to the They have a claim to being on the, a part of the kingdom of Judah. Hang on, let me get to the... Save. Hang on, I'm setting a couple of things up here that I didn't do right before I went live. Making this in a live streams playlist. Okay. Here we are. Good, let's continue. Okay. LMFAO, women knocking the door down over there. What? Oh, I'm sorry. This is now. Okay. Let's continue now in the chat. Okay. Canaanites are from Cham. Yes, that is correct, traditionally. Much better reception. Okay, wait, am I on? So wait, let's go to the Wi-Fi. Let's turn it back on. Okay. No, the unknown says, do not go merely merely by oral tradition, lineage, heresy, collection of texts, logical reasoning, inference, or because you think. This contemplative is our teacher. Not go merely by traditions, lineage, hearsay. I said heresy, hearsay, collection of texts, logical reasoning, inference, or because you think. Do not go merely by that. So, what else is missing over there? What else is missing? To me, it would be that thing that is spirituality and not religion, right? That pure connection between creator and creation with no text or logic, with no inference or reasoning, simply as is, part of being itself for the individual. That's been my experience with that, like, plain spirituality. I am a wushu master, says Tunisia Cat. Hi, Tunisia Cat. Hang on a second. I want to Google wushu quickly. A modern Chinese martial art and international sport. Wow, so how long have you been practicing it? Or how long has it been an activity of yours to be a master? He lives in a Palestinian home. Wrong again, FDF, but you go ahead and think whatever you want. I don't know if you're talking about me or not. Do you live in your mama basement? Forever 11 Bravo. Hi, Forever 11. No. I have stayed a day or two in my mother's basement when I was there visiting. That's it. I don't live there, no. Indeed. Hey, Gabagool, how you doing? Oh, hey. Indeed, they are not the peacemakers, but they do not know. Myron says, I believe the Sephardic Jews come from the tribe of Judah. Well, as opposed to Benjamin? Because both of them were part of the, well, what do you mean? There are Sephardic priests and Levites as well. So, tribe of Judah, not necessarily. The kingdom of Judah very well could be. So, I'm not sure, when you say tribe of Judah, do you mean kingdom of Judah? Hey, Adrian Lee is in the house. How you doing? Joseph is here. Hey, Joseph, the religions are going to freak out when the spirit of El comes down onto earth again. Halakha will have to move over for prophecy. I agree. I agree. Eat a steak, bro, says Jack James. No, I don't eat steak. But why should I eat a steak? And if I was going to eat a steak, people in the chat, what is your best cut? What is the best steak? Kosher or non-kosher, doesn't matter. What is the best steak you ever had, whether it was a specific cut, whether it was a specific place, whether it was a specific time in your life? What is the best steak you ever had? Why do Muslims use rabbinical text when debating Rebecca? Who? Which Rebecca, FDF? Do you believe Muslims took your religion? Are you talking to me or someone else, FDF? You've been here long enough to know that I don't think in those terms. Job offer, I'll keep you on my heart, says Adam. Yes, may you be blessed and something that you enjoy, not just something you tolerate for pay. Yes, yes, yes. After over 11 years with the company I worked for, I was let go. They were acquired by a foreign entity, and a lot of people were let go, and I among them. So I'm hoping for bigger and better things. It just happened 2 weeks ago, or 20 days ago. So 3 weeks ago. Glenn says, I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but gravity is the weakest of all fundamental forces and cannot overtake a force that is greater and always present. So yeah, he's talking to Tenebris, right? I'm assuming. Best steak, well done. So like burnt to a crisp. What is the view of the rabbis in Israel on the Nazarite movement? Well, first of all, Jen, it's not a movement, it's individual people. Second of all, the view of rabbis is twofold. Most of them agree that even though vows and oaths are not something very desired and encouraged, there is room for the Nazarite vow in this day and age, particularly the Samson vow, which halachically abides by all the laws. And then again, there are those who say, and in the land of Israel, no less, where there's no debate whatsoever, for there is a debate about among taking the Nazarite vow here versus abroad. Queen Helene, a very famous Nazarite woman, had to do it abroad and here when she showed up here, but I digress. The rabbis, so those who are into it are into it. I've spoken to several of them here in Jerusalem. Rav Yoshua Friedman, Rav Gabriel David, Rabbi Nazarites, my old yeshiva buddy, Rav Ohad Yehuda Turjuman, who's here on YouTube, by the way, a practical Kabbalist. If you want to learn and you speak Hebrew, practical Kabbalah, he's the dude on YouTube for that, I think. So it's not a movement and the view is mixed. Orthodox people are usually wary. I've been called a Messianic Jew, I've been called a Christian, I've been called delusional, I've been called sick, I've been called mentally ill, I've been called proud, arrogant, vain, supercilious. Is that it? Wait, is that the word I'm thinking for? Yes, as if they're better, smarter. So yeah, exactly that. So yeah. Oh, and I've been told that I made my vow in vain, and you can't be a Nazarite, and nobody should be a Nazarite, and what do you think you're doing? And gravity isn't just an acceleration, the cause is still up for debate. Well, isn't it one of the four fundamental forces? Right? What do we have? Electromagnetics, the weak and strong nuclear forces, and gravity. Those are the four forces, correct? If I'm not mistaken. So if he's saying that gravity is the weakest, you're saying the cause is still up for debate. I'm like, okay, it's just a natural, fundamental part of the physical world that we inhabit. I don't know if you were talking to Jim West before, likely to Glenn Antenna. So I don't know what's up there, but okay. I'm going to continue. Okay. How about an orangutan? Have you been called that before? No, but there was one time in the Netherlands, I was sitting with my kids, that's irrelevant, on a bus. And there were these kids, these younglings eyeballing me, not even teenagers, tweens at best. And they didn't say anything, they were speaking Dutch. I couldn't really tell if they were talking about me or not, nor do I care. As they were leaving, when they get off, I'm still here next to the window. I hear a tap at my window. I turn, and a guy who was one of those younglings goes, you know, like a monkey. And my kids were so pissed. One of them got really emotional and upset. And I said, hey, if he feels he needs to make fun of me to feel better about himself or for yucks, I feel sorry for him. I feel sad for him that he feels he needs to do that to make himself feel better. This is what I think. This is what I do. He would not accept that. But yeah, he was very offended on my behalf. Also, yes, I do look like a monkey. And I enjoy bananas. And I haven't thrown my feces in some time, I'll give him that. But you've got the keys, bro. Open the door and meet Christ. Thanks, Frank. I appreciate it. I'm not a Jesus follower or a Christian, but gold star to you for proselytizing as a good Christian. Gravity is good song. Hey, hoo hey hi ho is here. Hi ho. Hey, hoo hey. Huh? The Dutch can be very brutal and blunt. Yes, that's correct. Take notes, people. This is how you handle insults, says Charles. It's yeah, likely. I think it's the best course of action. I think it's the best course of action. No, the unknown is quoting Prince Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, His Royal Majesty, former Royal Majesty.
With ignorance as condition, formations arise. With formations as condition, consciousness arises. And thus, the cycle of suffering continues. With ignorance as a condition, formations, meaning that if we overcome the ignorance, it means that nothing is formed and everything can still flow in its earlier state. With that as condition, there would be no consciousness, since you're just part of that regular flow of all things, not even aware of yourself, but sucked into that greater thing. Thus, the cycle of joy would continue. Now, suffering is not necessarily the antithesis of joy, but let's say contentment, though not complacency. Okay, so we should not be ignorant, and we should still be ignorant, and we will always be ignorant of some things. Now, right? To know is to not know. All I know is that I don't know. All I know is I know nothing. With ignorance as condition, formations arise. With formations as condition, consciousness arises. Now, here is the thing. If we take this in the Hebrew lens, the story of creation, whether we look at it Kabbalistically, Lurianically, the breaking of the vessels, the idea of the vessels being broken because they wanted to take it on themselves and they couldn't handle it. That's the Lurianic teaching of Shvirat HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels. They kind of became aware. There was formation. With ignorance as condition, formations arise. With formations as condition, consciousness arises. So ignorance is inherently, right? A equals B, B equals C, so A equals C. If you're talking that ignorance turns into formation, formation turns into consciousness, and it's a cycle that consciousness makes you ignorant, I gotta tell you, I need to spend a little bit more time with this line. I would love to learn more about what he's saying here. Okay. Let's continue. Thanks for asking. All things intended, I can be better, I might say, because I'm feeling so insanely super. Yes, a scientific theory is better than a theory, but it's not a fact, says Jim West. Right? Like innocent until proven guilty, it's true until proven untrue. Achi, you read the Targum Pseudo-Jonathan, on Daniel 7, Karakuri. No, I have not. I have not yet. Are you a proud Jew? Says Nazi if Hurmovich, Nazi Nazif, Nazi if, I don't know what it is. No, pride is something I try to stay away from. Not in an absolute way, but in a very, very broad way. So I am a simple, ignorant Hebrew man, a dumbass in the Middle East, no more, no less. That is what I am. Good morning, my dear Avinu Abir Yaakov. Anenu Abir Yaakov, Anenu. And you also have the Anenu. Bizchote devar yochai. Anenu. Yeah. How long you been growing your locks? Hi, Ben4078. I haven't combed my hair in about just over 16 years. Nan says, I think if we don't argue and talk, we will do better. Yes, this is what I'm doing over here. Arguments happen and there are debates going on in the chat between viewers, and that's all well and good. It's all, as long as it's civil and, and it's not like disingenuous and dishonest, but people, People are doing a lot. People are doing a lot in the chat. Nature calls mid-slichot, saying hello in the bathroom. Hello. Sir, I have a question. How close is Hebrew to Aramaic? So first of all, it depends on the Aramaic. Are you talking about Eretz Yisrael Aramaic? Are you talking about Babylonian Aramaic? A different type of Aramaic. There are many dialects. So Hebrew and Eretz Yisrael Aramaic are pretty close. And I don't know, I can't speak to the rest of them, less so, I think. The Eretz Yisrael Aramaic is, I know it has another name. Is it Syrian Aramaic? I'm not sure. Galilee Aramaic? I don't recall. But Eretz Yisrael Aramaic is what I know it as. It's pretty close. Pretty close. And yeah, I can't tell you. I'm not a linguist, Edward. How close do you think Aramaic and Hebrew are? Do the chicks dig your hair, says Bruce. I have no idea. I have one woman. I met her at 16. We've been married for 23 years. She's been my only girl. Oh, other than, well, I didn't have the hair then, so no. I do appreciate your welcoming dialogue. Most Jews are too contentious to talk to. Yeah, I hear you. Baruch Goldstein, a hero to you, host? No, Skinny Tobas. Baruch Goldstein is not a hero to me. Are you familiar with Mauro Balingo's work? No, Eldona, I'm not. Please share. You are inspecting, my friend, says Ruby. I'm thinking about buying an apartment in a possible Pinoi Binui in Ashkelon. Voila, Pinui Binui in Ashkelon. Cool. You're going to enjoy the beach. Awesome, bro. You don't hear that a lot nowadays. Hey, AA is here. Tony says, this dude makes Larry David look like Brad Pitt. I am doing pretty great right now, AA, talking to you people live from Jerusalem for almost an hour and a half. How great is this? How awesome is this? Satan's children, says Tunisia Cat. What are their names? I'd love to know. Do you know there's a lot of Jewish people in South America? Yes, I do. I do know that there are different communities there, for sure. Hang on a second. Let's do this. Here we go. Wait, whoops. Hang on. Nope, that's gonna fall. Come on, tripod. Ah! All right, that's it. There. Okay. Here we go. Carl says, do you support Zionism? Yes, I do. I support Zionism, but not blindly. I know that there are people who do horrible things in the name of Zionism, and I condemn them and their actions. That is not Zionism to me personally. Wisdom bro is back, says Dia. No, I am standing on the shoulders of people who are wise. I myself am not. Satan is an angel. They can't bear offspring. Time is the crime. Hi, time is the crime. How you doing? Will you live stream in the evening? I don't know. I might not. I don't know. Yes, I'm in Yerushalayim, Karokuri. Let's scroll down. I would much rather, says Ruby, buy in Jerusalem, just too expensive. Yes, Jerusalem is expensive. That is correct. You okay? Itai is still asleep, man. Anemic says, you're so pretty, OMG. Thank you. Stop. Do you speak Latin? No, I don't. Actus reus mens rea. I do not. Do you? No, but I do know, I speak pretty mean Pig Latin. Did you know that Pig Latin, before it was Pig Latin, was called Thieves Latin? Wow, we caught your live. Good morning from the Mirandas. Hey, his word is truth. How you doing? How you doing? A lovely couple who both, who jam and who are into music. Dia says he speaks the oldest language. Some people say it is the oldest, yeah. I only speak legal Latin. What is legal Latin? You mean in legalese where they have Latin phrases like persona non grata? Something to that effect? Do you like the city of Tel Aviv? What are the main differences with Jerusalem? I haven't been in Tel Aviv enough. I just know that to really know if I like it or not. I've been there at the beach. I've been at the flea market. I've been at the theme parks, but I've been there for job interviews, but I barely ever go there, like ever. I'm a homebody. I love my home. I love my city. I don't have a need to travel. Thieves Latin, yeah, that's correct. So the main differences from what I hear is that one is very secular and one is a lot more religious. That would be the main difference. But that's not, it's also a difference in, right, Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv literally means old new. Tel means ruin and Aviv means spring. Tel Aviv is like after Herzl's Als Neuland, an old new land. Tel Aviv, old new. Tel Aviv Yafo is actually the full name of the city. Tel Aviv Jaffa, right? Jaffa being the biblical city, and the Tel Aviv being the old and the new. So bringing the old and bringing the new, and with the Bible, that's Israel for you. Don't forget, you support the actions of the Israeli government, including genocide. Thanks, user O. I don't, because there is no ongoing genocide, nor do I support all the actions of the Israeli government, but thank you for reminding me that I am a supporter. Yes, Israel is fighting a defensive war against its enemies. People can dispute that all they want. They can be idiots, too. You can drive your car with your feet if you want it. It doesn't make it a good idea. And not supporting Israel, not 100%. Of course, there are psychopathic, genocidal people. They don't belong in the military or the government. They belong in a jail cell or prison, rather, and under the ground in a grave, or marked with a grave. At any rate, or marked with a headstone, right? So, and no, there is no genocide. The only genocide that would be is Hamas if they had their way. Thankfully, they don't. But you keep spreading your misinformation, disinformation, this information, that information, whatever you want to do. Kufi says, beady beady, beep. Yes. User has been blocked, says Tenebris. Has he? No, let them spam. Let them spam. I'm a fan of all the spammers and all the haters and all the trolls and all the well-wishers and the encouragers and the question askers and the statement makers and the insult slingers, the vitriol hurlers. I love it all. Did you know Trump is considering using nuclear weapons? On whom, Bruce? I'd love to know. Let it be, let it spam. Exactly, Shai. Let this useful idiot get things out of his or her system. Do you think I should be punished to death for believing Jesus is God? No, because you're not a Hebrew. Why should you be punished to death if you're not a Hebrew? And even if you are a Hebrew and you think Jesus is God, there is no Sanhedrin. Were there to be a Sanhedrin, I think that they would be able to get you off and not put you to death. I mean, get you off legally. No, sexual relief. Crimes are being committed against men on all sides. That's why war exists. That's why it exists. That's the cause. Crimes being committed. That's the reason for the war, not a byproduct. That's one way to look at it. Karakuri, and if you're a Jew and you believe that a human being is God, then believing it, that's not something that's punishable by death. Worshipping it is, in the land of Israel, with witnesses, with warning, properly. The strict halacha would say, if I were to take a human being, and I'm a Hebrew man or woman in Israel, and I worship a human being, I don't know if there is such a precedent in the Torah or the Bible, so I can't say for sure. I do know that the Torah says this about false deities, and not to make any statues, graven images, to not treat any creation as creator. But does it mention specifically human beings? Do not bow down to human beings as gods? I don't know if it says that. It says anything under the heavens. That includes humans in it, for sure. So, I think then, with the Sanhedrin, with a warning, with witnesses, it would be something that the Sanhedrin would sentence you to death for, right? Again, here in Israel, because Sanhedrin has no authority outside of Israel. But that's an interesting question. Dia says, is the spoken Torah where you have the differences between tribes? The oral traditions? I mean, the oral traditions, it's not between tribes, no, because different tribes were part of the kingdom of Judah. The oral law that was written down, the Mishnah, the Talmud, the Midrash, and later on Halacha itself, there's no differences between tribes. There's a difference between the places we were exiled to. People from the East, people from the West, people from Africa. Jeremy says, where do you believe Jesus is not? Well, Jesus as a human being is not here in this world. He has died. He was put back into the ground. So where is he not? In the physical world, he's not anywhere else but in his grave. Or even if we say he ascended, then he's not in this world at all. And where is Jesus not? He is not in the Bible and not in the traditional Hebrew way. I'm not sure if I'm understanding you correctly there what you're asking, Jeremy, but okay. I.M. says, why would Jesus rise from the dead after 3 days? Well, I would say, looking at it simply as a Hebrew man who does not believe Jesus is God, who does not believe Jesus is Lord, Savior, King, Messiah, Anointed One, nothing. I believe he was a good, righteous man who died, who lived and died a Hebrew man. So, in looking through that lens and not a Messianic or Christian lens, why would he rise after 3 days? I think if that would happen, it would be because up until then, the raising from the dead, no, there were longer periods. Of course there were longer periods. There was the dude who touched the bones of Elisha, and that happened way later. Not that much later. I wonder how much time later. Why after 3 days? Perhaps because the Tanakh was only written after, right? The Bible was compiled after the fall of the Second Temple. Could very well be that the stories of Elijah and Elisha that we take for granted were not known in different areas. Though, because they were from the kingdom of Israel, not the kingdom of Judah, right? If I'm not mistaken. They were dealing with Achav and Izebel. They were not of Judah, they were the kingdom of Israel. Those are the people that Eliyahu and Elisha were dealing with. Meaning that it could very well be that they had no prior knowledge of the ascension of Eliyahu, the resurrection of the man who touched the bones of Elisha. Could be it never reached the kingdom of Judah. I don't know if that's an assumption I would want to make or why not, but let's say they didn't hear of it because the Bible did not exist and they had no reference point. Why would Jesus rise back from the dead? I think in order to continue that idea of the final resurrection, that's after we partake of the fruit of the tree of life, hence, right, resurrection, living again. And this time not as in life as opposed to death, but a life that's singular, not a world of good and evil, but or knowledge of good and evil, but a world of life. Olam haba, the world to come, the coming world, as it's known. And I think that he would rise back from the dead and ascend or not ascend in order to reinforce that idea, particularly with the coming doom of the fall of the Second Temple 40 years later by Rome. As somebody who was looking at it as Jesus was just a good guy, a righteous guy, a sage who died, a Hebrew man, I think resurrecting him after 3 days, maybe it was to imply to the children of Israel that despite the coming exile, they will live again. I don't know. I could think of all kinds of things that would symbolize, but why, I have no idea. It's a very good question. I mean, I know what the Christians, or rather ask a Christian or a Messianic Jew. Allah says, are you original citizen? Prove that. Who are you talking to right now? How would you like me to prove that I'm an original citizen? Do you support Israel? Yes, Black Knight. As an Israeli, I do support Israel, though not 100%. His word. Is it true the third temple is being built now? It is and it isn't. There's no foundation stone. We're not allowed to the Temple Mount to clear it out and build, right? The Jordanian Waqf has the religious authority in that area. We hear so many untruths here. We so appreciate the truth. The truth, as far as I know, is that it has not been physically, construction has not begun physically, but everything surrounding it, the Temple Institute here in the Old City in Jerusalem, have made many garments and vessels and apparatuses, have to do with ritual worship, have constructed the artifacts, many of them, right, including a golden menorah that is to scale, beautiful to behold, by the way, beautiful. And it's being built spiritually, and with the idea of the spirit coming first and the material, physical creation being the final destination right now, here in this world, like the lowest, so to speak, the last stop in this chain before going boing and back up. So the third temple is being built now, conceptually, but not practically. And the third temple conceptually is, right, that resurrection, if you will, of the kingdom of Israel, this time as a state, and we'll see where it takes us. How you feeling about Iranians, says Yo Bro My Albait. My feeling towards Iranians is that they are Iranians, right? People of ancient Persia. That's pretty much it. Paul Wang, hi Wang. Explain what hope of Jew you are. Can anyone become your flavor? Oh, type. I think you meant to write type. I am a simple Hebrew man, no more, no less. I have no denomination or sect or court or any, like a Hasidic court or sect that I follow. I grew up modern Orthodox here in Jerusalem and have since stepped away from keeping strict halacha, right, rabbinic law. There are things that I'm more strict about. There are things that I'm less strict about. And I don't fall under any category. I don't consider myself secular or religious. I'm just a simple Hebrew man. So my flavor of Judaism is not any flavor. It's just the way that I am perceiving this now here as I'm living it. Would love to see. Thanks for clearing that up. I mean, look, obviously there could be construction going on that I don't know. On the actual mountain itself. Could be. I have no idea. Blessings, Achi. Hey, Zek Organ. How you doing? Greater Israel Project. Well, I'm of the opinion that what makes Israel great is not territory or land or I don't know what. It's a greatness that comes from the inside, from being righteous and virtuous and simple and humble before God. That is what I think makes a nation great, not just Israel. Do you smoke indica or sativa? So I smoked in the past. I have not partaken in a while. And I never overindulged, puff, puff, pass in the evening. So, I always say be a high-functioning stoner, not a low-functioning pothead. And if, since the herb, the holy sacred herb, since it came up, respect the herb, respect your body, respect your mind. The bulk of your spiritual experiences and psychedelic experiences should come from the inside and not from the outside, in my opinion, be it something organic or something synthetic. And I smoked whatever was at hand. I'm usually not the one who placed the orders, so I don't know what we got. Usually, I guess it was a hybrid. But, yeah. No, the unknown says physically, mud plus conditions, pot. When the conditions cease, no pot arises. Likewise, ignorance, craving, clinging, becoming, birth, suffering. So birth is a natural progression from craving and clinging? When the condition ceases, the result ceases. So yes, I was sort of right, that being the result of that, but I'm trying to work through that a little bit. I'm going to try again. Paul Wang says, I really would love to hear what you mean by simple Hebrew man. Details, please. What laws do you follow? Well, I'm kosher. We keep a kosher house. I keep the Sabbath. Do I keep it to the degree that other religious folk would say is acceptable? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't go to synagogue. I have no rabbi. I'm not raising my kids religious as I was raised. I'm not sending them to religious schools. I'm teaching them that the relationship between creator and creation is first of all theirs and their own. And I'm trying to set a good example of what a Hebrew man is, but I make a lot of mistakes and I'm aware of it and they know it. And they know that I'm not here to represent anyone but myself. And sometimes I do a piss poor job at that. A simple Hebrew man in the sense that I'm not part of a community, not part of a congregation. And I have found my unfolding path that is in parallel in some ways to the rabbinic halacha, but not sticking to the strict rabbinic laws. If you have a more specific detail you want, by all means ask, and I'll be glad to oblige if I can. You Jewish? Yes, Liu Chen, I am Jewish. Ben says, do you consider Messianic Jews part of Judaism? So I differentiate between if they think simply that Jesus was Messiah and will make a comeback, or including resurrection and ascension, because that has its precedence in the Hebrew Bible. And I differentiate between Messianic Jews who don't see him as Messianic, but as like a God in flesh. That's not allowed according to Torah. And that's already Christian as far as I'm concerned. If you simply believe he was the Messiah, the King, and he was here to symbolize something and spread something, he died and he's coming back, then there is a precedence for that in the Bible. In Ezekiel, right? Ezekiel, when he's talking about the two sticks, right, of Judah and Ephraim and putting them together. Is it 37? Hang on, I'll give you the chapter and verse. Okay, yes, 37. And I'll give you so it's Ezekiel 37, and he's talking about the two sticks, right? The gist is, if you don't want to read it, there's one stick that symbolizes the kingdom of Israel. There's one stick that symbolizes the kingdom of Judah. Ezekiel puts them together. And when the people are asking him, what is it you are doing, Ezekiel? And he says, you see what I did here just now? How they became one stick in my hand? God will bring the kingdoms back together, unify them, and there will be one king, one shepherd. They will know me, I will know them, they will keep my laws. And that's, I'll read it in English. So it's Ezekiel 37:24 from the JPS Tanakh. 37:24 JPS, the JPS Tanakh, the Jewish Publication Society. And David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they shall all have one shepherd, and they shall walk in mine ordinances and keep my statutes and do them. To walk, to keep, and to do. And it says, David, my servant, shall be king over them. It doesn't say house of David. It doesn't say line of David. It doesn't say progeny of David, descendant of David. It says, David, my servant. Now, you could say, no, it's a dude's name. It's a different David who will be the final Messiah, who will be completely different from the King David, son of Yishai, but from the same line, from the same house, so many generations later, called David as well. How fitting. And some say, I don't know if it's a minority or a majority. They say, no, it really will be King David. King David himself will make a comeback, which is why I write, David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam. David, the king of Israel, lives and exists. I may have to go get the baby. I need to keep an ear open, which I am. I heard a cough. I don't know if it was the big one or the little one. So, David, my servant, shall be king over them. David, my servant, shall be king over them. And some say, no, it's a different guy. His name won't be David, but he will be from the house of David. But it's what's called a mikra mekutzar, like a shorthand, right? David, my servant, means somebody of David. So, Messianic Jews are part of Judaism. If they consider Jesus God, they are Christians, as far as I'm concerned. They have crossed that line. If they are Messianic Jews who believe he was a good guy, lived and died, resurrected, ascended at the right hand of God, whatever that means. And then and that he's poised to make a comeback, whether as David himself, whether as Jesus himself, whether, I don't know, somebody else embodying that spirit of Jesus, I don't know, I really don't. That is something that I'm willing to go with as well and say, okay, there's allowance for that. But that's where I draw the line. So I do consider those Messianic Jews to be part of Judaism, but those who say Jesus is God in flesh, God incarnate, actually, literally, mamish, no, I don't consider them Jews. They're Jews because they are actually Jews. Who am I to take away their Jewry? Do I consider it a Jewish thing? No, I do not. I need more water. Paul Lang says, in a sense, you are more observant of Torah law than Reform and conservative Jews, but less observant than Orthodox while having a more personal relationship with God. Yes, I'm less observant. I am off their derech and I am on my derech. Now, there are many, many detriments, many dangers and pitfalls when you go and you veer off the path of halacha, of rabbinic law. I say this to everybody. Yes, live a halachic life, live under the rabbinic law, do that strict rabbinic thing, if only for a time, because it's a wonderful path and a blessed path. You need to find halacha that speaks to you. You need to find a rabbi that jives with you. You need to find somebody who you can connect with in a Judaism and a halacha rabbinic Judaism that you can flow with as well and not lose your individuality. But definitely do that. And when people say, oh, why did you leave that path? I say it was from that path that I arrived at where I am now, also because of that path. And also things that I saw in Israel at the time. I veered off the path about 20 years ago. For 20 years, just over 20 years, I lived that halachic life, strict, and I had long side curls. I grew them in yeshiva. I didn't have those when I was a boy and a teenager. Point is, I was what people might consider pretty hardcore into rabbinic Judaism. And I went a little bit off that path and onto my own path. Despite the danger, in spite of all the danger. Yes, in spite of all the danger, and there is indeed a danger. In spite of me not carrying the torch the way it was handed to me. I'm here as a Jew, as a Heb, living in Israel, in Jerusalem, serving in the army at the time. Reserves at the time. And what? I'm going to force myself to live that life, to force myself to keep strong, strict, unyielding almost at times, halacha, though it is yielding, but almost unyielding. Very confusing, and things were going on at the time with the religious leaders in Israel, and terrible things were happening in Israel, and I decided I can't abide this, and I took off the kippah, or rather, no, I took it off a little bit later. The point is, I no longer wanted to be associated with the Orthodox faith because I don't think that I represent the Orthodox faith. So in a sense, you're saying you're more than that and more than that, but less than that. Yes, as far as halacha is concerned, I'm sure that there are certain Reform people or conservative people that keep more halacha than me in certain ways, in different things, right? We each have different things. I wish I could grow some side curls. I'll bet you could, Bruce. If you will it is no dream. Hey, Cal Bundy is here, or is it C. Al Bundy? Love your show, my man. The thing with Al Bundy is this, right? Married with children. The thing is this. I knew from a very young age, anything that Al Bundy does, as far as it has to do with women, do the exact opposite. That's what I knew. I also knew that ultimately he loved his family, even if they treat him like crap. And he treats them like crap. But he loves them. Okay, let's continue. If universe is eternal, I don't believe it's eternal. Explain formation of sand or any other crystalline. Well, I'm assuming you're talking still to Tenebris. How's that dialogue going? Are you people who are into the dialogue or not listening to me but following that dialogue in the chat? Is it good? Is it interesting? I'm curious. If there's a lot of it going on here. Do the opposite of Al Bundy. Yes, in a lot of things. In a lot of things I knew anything that he's doing, like don't treat women like that. Don't speak that way. Don't do that. Yeah, do the opposite. Nazarite, the old sect, yes, one of the oldest, but it's not really a sect. Not really a sect. Those were Nazarenes. Those were Jews at the times of Jesus that believed him to be the Messiah. They were called Nazarenes. They were a sect of the Hebrew faith, of Judaism. And the Nazarene are people from Nazareth. And Nazarene nowadays is a church, a Christian church of the Nazarene. I'm none of those things. I'm not from Nazareth. I don't worship I don't worship Jesus, or did at the time because I didn't live then. And I'm not a Christian. So yes, Nazarite. Not a sect, individuals. James says, when God walked in the garden, was he not in the world as flesh? Well, you mean world. This is the world where we were cast out of Eden into. And that brings about a whole shift, right? It says, no man shall see me and live. That means seeing God like in that form for all intents and purposes. And the idea of death came into being after we partook of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. So, God walked in the garden. If we look at it very, very, the anthropomorphization of God, yes, the humanizing of God, it all speaks to divine attributes. God has no legs. He does not walk, right? The Torah is speaking in these terms to convey the relationship between the Sfirot, right? To convey the relationship between the name Elohim and Adonai Elohim, and between creation, and between mankind and creation and the Creator. So, very simply and purely, if we're talking about the way that the Hebrew people perceive the Torah, God is not corporeal. You could make the argument that in Eden, before the Torah took on flesh, like it's literally flesh, it's animal parchment, written with ink. The Torah is twofold, right? Where you have the crowns and the letters, but not the punctuation or the melody. The human being is the one who completes that. The Torah in that sense is lacking, and we need to bring the spirit. The Torah is the flesh, we bring the spirit, we make it come alive. The idea of God walking in the garden, if you're talking about then I would say traditionally, no, God is not corporeal, hence he has no legs, hence he is not in flesh and does not walk. Is there a divine revelation called Elohim or Adonai Elohim? And in the way that it pertains to the divine revelation, the divine emanations, does that mean that there was a revelation that was walking in a garden? Yes, that all pertains to the state of Malchut. Right, that idea of Malchut, of the final Sphira, where God walked in the garden. But I don't see it as a Hebrew man. I do not see a God in flesh. We have no such way. We have no such tradition. When it says eyes of God, nose of God, ears of God, this is not God. These are revelations called eyes and ears and nose and hands and finger. Right? Etzba Elohim here. It is the finger of God. The Pharaoh's wizards told him, the Paronim, the Khartoumim. Why don't you like soap? I like soap very much. I use liquid soap regularly. G-Man says, Hebrew Nazarite, are Muslims Noahide? They certainly can be, but they're sons of Noah in the sense that they came from Shem, Ham, and Yafet traditionally. But Noahides in the sense, do they keep the 7 Noahide laws? I don't know. Maybe some do, maybe some don't, I don't know. L87 says, the Haredi called themselves Jews, yet they leaving to Europe because their power was taken away, as it's, I believe, written in Hosea. Where and when was their power taken away? They still have tons of power politically here because of the way that they vote. They hold a major political bloc, or whatever it's called. Adam and Eve heard him walk. What did they hear? So again, you're saying this under the assumption that it's a physical, material you and I, Adam and Eve, before the fall, before the expulsion. You're saying they were exactly like this, and I'm saying no. The tradition is that was a lot more spiritual. It had physical elements within it, and we were expelled to a physical world of knowledge of good and evil. But it was abundantly spiritual. Much closer to what's called Atzilut, or bri'ah than asiyah, right? In the sense of the Kabbalistic world, so much higher. Kieran says, you're proud of your kids though? Yes, I am. And what I tell them all the time is I want you to be good people. That's it. I care about, religion is one thing, don't lose your relationship with God, but more than that, be a good person. So I definitely am. Scrolling down. Open your eyes. You'll see their power being removed. Okay, I will be opening my eyes because the election is coming up in October, and we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Giyoshi says, Yahweh was just a human being brainwashing people. Yes, very well could be that there was a human being called that was brainwashing people. Sure. Greg says, true. Giyoshi says, Yahweh drinks wine, if you say so. Kepen, I'm not filtering you, don't be ridiculous. אני לא מסנן כלום, כפרה עליך, יש פה כמה אנשים, 45 אנשים. Jonathan, that's my name, Jonathan, or Jonathan. Do you believe that Israel is going to hell? Hi, Sammy. What? Sami Masood, no, I believe that there are people from Israel, or citizens, or Israelites, that not hell. Jews have no hell. There is no hell in the traditions of Israel. So, no, I don't. Kepen, don't make the mistake of thinking that you're alone here and I'm looking at you and filtering you. Here's how this works. I see a question come in, I address it here on the phone, and then I scroll down and address another one, or maybe one next to it, but I'm definitely not screening, censoring, filtering, banning, time-outing. The only thing that's working in the background here is YouTube's very, very minimal guidelines censorship. Certain things are held for review because of that, and I don't see them to begin with. That, I think, wouldn't be held for review. It's an honest question. I simply didn't see it. So don't make the mistake of thinking that I saw it and I'm saying, bah, screw that guy. No, I actually didn't see your username until right now. As I say to others, get your head out of your ass. I mean, mine is still in there, but I can definitely tell you to get yours out of yours. Assalamu alaikum, Hebrew Nazarite. Hey, M-Boss. Wa alaikum salam. Kif halak? How are you? Have you been? Jim West says, LOL. Goyer says, Moses was just high on desert plants. I have no doubt that the psychedelic plants and mushrooms and herbs were also part of the sacraments, but I don't think he was just high. I think he was a great bridge, right? The lawgiver. He was a unique human being. Jen asks, do you enjoy reading philosophy or classic literature? If so, what are some of your favorite writers? So I read it when I read it, which isn't much. I'm right now reading Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov, and I'm enjoying it very much. That is considered classic literature. Some people consider that to be the greatest book ever written. As for philosophy, the last thing that I've read philosophy-wise, I think, was I listen more to podcasts in that sense. But as for reading, I think the last book that was actually, no, it wasn't even an actual book. I mean, the Bible and the Torah aside, and Pardes Rimonim, I study Pardes Rimonim, right, which is a book of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, and I consider it to be a great Kabbalistic philosophical magnum opus. So I do enjoy reading philosophy and classic literature, and I'm doing both right now. But as for some of my favorite writers, I'm not versed enough or knowledgeable enough to give you this or that, so I can't tell you. Where do the Jews think Jesus of Nazareth is if they don't believe in Hades? No, Hades is the underworld. That's called Sheol. Hades is not Gehinnom. Gehinnom is more akin to purgatory. It's temporary. It's a place of shedding the layers of the onion, peeling off the karma, purgation, purification, cleansing, rejuvenation, revelation of the self. And that, they say, traditionally is up to 12 months. Now, there's no space-time in these places. They are spiritual places. We use a concept like space-time, 12 months in hell or purgatory, Gehinnom. But there is no eternal hell. There is no eternal bliss. Eden and Gehinnom, heaven and hell in the Hebrew faith, are both waiting rooms, awaiting to partake of the fruit of the tree of life. We still have a job to fulfill in Eden, We were cast out, we will be back in, and we'll fulfill our mission there. So the Jews have a Hades, it's called Sheol, or the underworld, or the world of the dead. But then there's that idea of a higher Eden and a lower Eden, and different chambers of Gehinnom, or Madorim. Okay. Let's continue. Wait, Kepen said something, and since he thinks I ignored him before, I'll read it. Okay, thanks, you look exactly like someone I know without all the dreadlocks. I thought something happened to him. No, it's just me, Kepen. It's just me. The international Jew goes where the money is. What is the international Jew? Do you mean the diaspora Jew as opposed to the Sabra Israeli Jew? What do you mean? I'm curious. YNWA, Inwa, Yanwa, do you support genocide? No, I do not. Ben says, so even Jesus of Nazareth wouldn't be there for eternity. This is a position that is not 100%, there's no 100% of a consensus among the scholars and the researchers academically on who the Yeshu HaNotzri is that's mentioned in the Talmud and in one or two other places. So, traditionally speaking, even though anomalies do exist, and those are indeed laid out, 4 kings and 3 laymen, or 3 kings and 4 laymen, that have an eternity as they see it of this. But even that is a relative eternity, and I spoke of this yesterday or the day before. It's only relative to those who experience space-time in the way that we do. The point is, from the Jewish position, is that if you say that he was a righteous man who died a righteous man, then yes, he is indeed in Eden by now, no doubt. If you're saying, no, he was an idolater, and he practiced dark magic and a sorcerer, and he tried to turn the children of Israel against God and against the rabbis, or I don't know what, then that still wouldn't necessarily merit an eternity of Gehinnom, of the Hebrew purgatory. And so he would be in Eden there again. And if you go with the opinion of some that he is one of those anomalies and that there it's forever, to whatever degree ever is, right? Min ha'olam v'ad ha'olam. That also has to do with the divine sfirot and the relationship between them. This idea of world, olam. Olam comes from the word ha'elem, which is absence, which is hiddenness. So can he get to Eden? I would say yes. Some would say he never will. Some would say he already has. Some would say he was there to begin with. I guess that's how it breaks down. All right. The big dog says, how's he righteous if he claimed to be God? When did he claim to be God? When did he actually claim it? I don't think that he did. I think that what he claimed was, stop what you're doing and follow my example. Be like me. He didn't say worship me. He said live the type of life that I live, and you'll be able to have your relationship with God due to it. And you will attain that kingdom of heaven personally and globally eventually. I think he was righteous because he sought his own path from within the sages. He did not agree with, right? They say that, at least there's one opinion, that he was the student of Rabbi Yehoshua ben Parchia, right, at the time of the Second Temple, or someone else, almost by that name. It's again, contested. I don't know if he claimed to be God. Christians in the chat, there are about 60 people out there. Some of you might be Christians, maybe even most of you, since half of my viewers come from the US. Let me know. Do you think that Jesus claimed to be God? You probably know the New Testament better than I do. I only read the Christian Bible once. I enjoyed the gospel, but not, I didn't really enjoy the rest. Do you think humans evolved from monkeys? No, I think we evolved alongside apes, and we do share certain features. But I am a believer of evolution, and I'm also a believer of the account of creation in Genesis, and I believe they go hand in hand. Scrolling down. There's no way to the Father, says Yosef Israel, but through me is contradiction to Judaism. Which why he's totally rejected. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that When I look at that through me, it's through emulating me, through being like me. But you do you in the same way that I'm doing me, right? Leave it and follow me. Don't worship me. I'm not God. I don't know if that's, I don't really know if that's what he was saying, but I don't know. That's not the gist that I got from the gospel. That wasn't the bottom line that I received from when I read the New Testament. Not for faith, but for wisdom. And I found wisdom there for sure. It's paganism hidden as something else, lol, all sun worship. Yes, Lion Fox, I've heard that all the Abrahamic faiths and all of those ancient, it all really comes down to Sol Invictus, right? It's all the sun god, it's all sun worship. However, the thing is that this flies a little bit in the face of prophecies where the prophets are talking about the Haman, right? The Haman or Hamanechem, your sun sigils or sun apparatuses. The Hebrews worshipped the sun for a long time. All the while the tabernacle was there and moving around the country. All the while the first temple was there as well, all up to the second temple, really. And then it was taken away. And for the past roughly 2,000 years, if you're talking about the Hebrew faith being paganism hidden as something else, and that it's all sun worship, I will say that maybe that used to be true, but we have since evolved, if you will, and the inclination to worship false deities and the inclination to worship the Hebrew God in false ways or foreign ways to us has also been lifted out, generally speaking. Of course, there are individuals who are still, who are still idolaters. There are individuals who still worship foreign deities, even if not idols, and so on. Pagans, and whatnot. So I'm thinking that it's not all sun worship, but definitely for a time you could make that argument, for sure. Maybe even a very long time. He never said his name was Christ. That's the Greek word for Messiah. Yes, Christos means anointed one. That's what that is. Anointed one means Mashiach, right? To limshoach b'shemen is to anoint with oil. So limshoch Mashiach, 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 Mashiach. Oh yo 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 yo. Let's continue. Okay. He called himself Son of Man, not Christ. Yes, Ben Adam. Exactly, just like the prophet Ezekiel was almost always called Ben Adam. Hail Gozer, hail Zul, may the blessings of Stepa fall upon you all. Thank you, Cat Fine Stuff. Thank you. My best to Slimer. Gozer the Gozerian, the traveler is here. Quick, don't think of anything. It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Chris asks, do you have an opinion on the West Bank settlers violating the Oslo Agreement? Also, opinion on the Oslo Agreement. Oof, you asked a mouthful. So, I was alive during the Oslo Agreement. There was so much hope in the air, and I won't go and kvel and get all gushy over it, but it was the only time in my life where I felt that not only is peace possible, but attainable and right around the frickin' corner. It was a great time to be alive when it was like the dawn of a new era. It went to shit really quickly. I think Oslo is null and void and has no bearing anymore whatsoever, taking everything into account. I think that Hamas ruled by Gaza is a terrorist organization. I think the Palestinian Authority, areas A, B, C, I think that's all serving the terrorists. I don't care if they're in uniform or suits. They're both terrorists. They are both terrorist regimes who act who enact and carry out terrorism, who fund terrorism, who give money and encourage terrorism, right, to individuals and families of individuals. They have a tier-based bracket of earning, depending on how many Jews or Israelis the dude killed. His family gets X, Y, or Z amounts every month. So, and they are also they're raising with the doctrine of hate and of segregation in the way of enmity, in the way of these are the enemy. Okay. So it's the leadership, by the way, not the people, the leadership, right? So West Bank settlers violating the Oslo Agreement. If there are places that are contested, they remain contested. If there are places that are legal, and they should remain legal and Israeli. West Bank or no West Bank. If it's legal, it's Israeli. And If there are places that are illegal and they are occupied, and only then the bill or law is passed to make it legal, that I have an issue with, that I have a problem with. It doesn't sit right with me. I don't think it should be that way, even if there is a military, strategic, civilian advantage, tactical advantage even. I don't know. So the Oslo Agreement, I don't store anything by that. That's like, it was a great idea and it turned to shit very fast. That's what I have to say about Oslo. And too bad. Very, very bad. Arafat had an opportunity and he chose, like Hamas, terrorism instead of peace. Terrorism instead of establishing a Palestinian state. Okay. Cat Feinstuff says, once solution, that's not going to be the case, I don't think. Eventually, yes, but not right now. Equal rights and protection for all. Okay, I'm on that. End the apartheid. There is no apartheid here in Israel. Euro-made Zionism started this shite. I disagree. It can decide to end it. Palestinians deserve full Israeli citizenship. What are you talking about? What are you talking? Only after de-radicalization can that actually occur. We have generations of people growing up to hate and enact terrorism. They call it freedom fighting. They call it resistance. Bullshit. They were given every opportunity, time and time again, to establish a Palestinian state. This is not about resisting occupation and establishing any kind of independence or sovereignty. This is about annihilating the state of Israel at all costs, using whatever stratagems, whatever lies and manipulations, whatever false hands extended towards peace, speaking of Oslo. But I do appreciate your sentiment, and I think eventually it will come to that. But first, we need to de-radicalize both sides, and then there can be justice. And when there's justice, there can be peace. And when there is peace, there can even be love. Holy fart balls. Would you imagine that? If we actually loved each other, if Israel and Ishmael could get together again, if Israel and Edom and Esau could get together again and be brothers. Okay. Should I continue? Yes, but I'm going to get some water. Hang on. Wow, I've been on for over 2 hours. Whew. Can I just say how much I'm enjoying this? Those watching now, those watching later, it is such an honor, such a privilege, such a nothing to be taken for granted and nothing to sneeze at, that I press go live and there's a chat here and there are people here, there's an energy here, there's some good questions here, there are some dialogues and debates here, and it's lovely. I'm not a debater, but if you guys want to go for it in the chat, and you obviously do, then go right ahead, and I'm enjoying the fact that you're having the back and forth, even if I'm not following it. And you know, and the likes and the subs and the views and the DMs. If you want to hit me up in the DMs, Hebrew Nazarite across the board. Look for my tree. And I really do appreciate it. If I miss you in the chat, by the way, do leave a comment. I address every comment that is addressed to me that YouTube notifies me of. It doesn't always notify me, so maybe bump it. I don't know, bump it. Okay. Dia says, thank you for being here. It's all good, Dia. I like it that you're here. It's lovely. Commentary is not the text, says Frostios. Hi, Frostios. Frosty Sauce, Frosty SOS, Frosty's OS, Frosty's OS. The West Bank allows settlements from Israelis, right? Well, you have area A, B, and C with different authorities and different jurisdictions. How is that okay? If they use Old Testament, Israel is secular, it's a choice. No, this is not about the Old Testament. It is likely for the religious settlers, if they are religious, that are over there. It's not only religious people. But, yes, I believe that if they are doing it, if their motivation is religious, so is the motivation of the other side, by the way. But if we're simply talking about religion aside and the areas of A, B, C, and the Oslo Accords and what is and is not legal, then there is some allowance there. I think there is some allowance there. It's been a very long time since I've been to the West Bank and to any outpost or settlement like deep in the West Bank. I have no idea. I don't follow the news too closely at all unless there's like an active war going on and missiles falling. I don't follow the news and I stay away from the media. So I really can't tell you. But people in the chat who are more knowledgeable, what do you think? Rasta Jew, says Mr. Thomas. No, I'm not a Rasta, but the Rastas, some of them do take the Nazarite vow, and that is where we correspond. Jesus wasn't Jewish, says Goya Shakop. Really? Who do you think Jesus was if he wasn't from the kingdom of Judah? How do I get a tiny hat, Lit Dragon Live? I don't know. You can crochet one. You can sew one. You can buy one. You can barter one. You can use a towel as one. Oh, that's not a tiny hat. A tiny towel. Take a towel, whatever color you want, and make a circle or like a turban thing out of it, and there's your head. That's not a tiny hat, but it's a head covering. Do you like kosher tacos? Yes, Myron, I do. Occasionally, every few weeks, we have like a tortilla Shabbos, where my wife makes vegan chili, and I partake of it, and it's nice and good, and I like the spicy. If Jesus was Jewish, the Jews wouldn't kill him off. They would if they thought the Torah was commanding them to, and the court was appointed in order to do that. I recently learned that according to Maimonides and others, there's no consensus about this, but according to Maimonides and others, it was indeed the Sanhedrin that found him guilty and executed him in accordance with halacha, not that he was crucified by the Romans. Quite a difference that is. What do you think, people in the chat? Do you think Jesus was died by the Romans, physically by the Romans crucifixion, or physically by the Jews, Sanhedrin, and the stoning? Go to the gym, nerd. I do. I go 4 or 5 times a week. Although now I haven't gone for just over a week because the kids are home from their different things, and I'm daddy daycare, so I can't go. But I do try and do a few pull-ups, or and a few. So yes, I do go to the gym regularly, and I love it very much. As for being a nerd, yes, I am a nerd. And I like it. That's how I like it. I like being a nerd. I'm a nerd, I'm a geek, I'm a dweeb, I'm a Four Eyes, I'm a Poindexter. What else am I? I'm many things. Go to the gym, nerd. Why are you so thin? Because that is my genetics. That's my genetics. I also do a ton of cardio when I'm at the gym. So it's difficult for me to gain weight, whether it's muscle or just muscle mass or fat mass. It's very difficult for me to gain weight, and that's why I've always been a stick man. So, do you even lift, bro? Yes, I do. You say killed by his own people. Seek truth out is here. Hey, Romans killed him. Okay. Ben says time to work. Hey, go work, Ben. Have a good one. May it be a blessing to you and those around you. There's nothing like good old work, hard work. Careful, dude. The baby's still asleep. The real Wayno. I only visited church for the free grape juice and cracker. Will I go to hell? You'll have to ask a Christian, man. I have no idea. I love your personality, and yes, I'm part Jewish. I don't know if you're talking to me, Myron, or someone else, but awesome. What part of you? Cheese on everything, says L87. Yeah, I do miss cheese. Hey, Living Dead Girls here. Hello, Jonathan. Always good to see you educating. No. I'm not educating the masses. I am not an educator. I'm not a teacher. I'm a learner. I'm a student. Take everything I say with a big grain of hummus. Do your own research. Don't believe what I'm saying. Don't follow what I'm saying or what I'm doing or what I'm thinking or none of it. Make up your own mind. So I'm not educating the masses, though I do appreciate the sentiment, Living Dead Girl. It's always nice to see your name in the chat. Memento mori. Hey, people? Memento mori. The debate is still raging in the chat. I've been adopted. We are now brothers. Thanks. All right, Dalib. We're now brothers. You've been adopted by who? My parents adopted a kid? Really? I didn't see that. I didn't see that coming. So yeah, hit me up. Let me know. We'll hang out. We'll have some tea. Bless the Most High, says Joseph. Yes, indeed. Yevorach Elion. Hey, Batty is here. What up, Chief? That was the emoji. 30 push-ups, you lazy rat. Justin says 25 push-ups, he says. Okay, yeah. What do you mean? Is it 30 or 25? At my best, when I was in basic training in the army, I could do 100. And I was commanded to do so after one of my commanders thought I was out of line. And he told me to do 100. We worked up to it, of course. It took some time. But yeah. As far as push-ups are concerned, the army was the best. I was at my best there because we did so many of them in basic training. Lim Lai says, oh, I am 191. He won't answer because it stumps every Jew. What are you talking about? What won't I answer? First of all, I don't answer. I address questions. Answer is a little too... Hey, Aaron is here. I'm sorry. I am 91. What are you talking about? Yeah, memento mori. That's right, dead girl. We're all gonna die. Maybe even right now. Could happen. It stumps every Jew. What I am stumps every Jew. I don't know what you mean because I didn't read it before. Please, if you want me to address it, put it again. Maybe I'll see it. And if not, please leave a comment. I would love to know what stumps every Jew. Romans performed, says Corey, the execution under the duress of the Jewish community who was up in arms over Jesus and his teaching. Jesus spoke against the high-ranking rabbis of his own. Yeah, he went against the high-ranking Pharisees. That is true. That's what it says. Anyway. So it was the Jews who did it, and they brought it about, but the Romans performed it. Okay, I see. Fantine says, I am atheist because I believe only in science and logic. Religion is an anchor holding humanity back from its full potential. Without religion, Earth would be paradise. I disagree, although there is a lot of hell that is associated with religion. I'll give you that. And with the book comes the sword in a big way. In a big way. And with the sword comes revelation as well, by the way. When there is war in the world, said Rav Kook, the bells of Messiah are ringing. Yeah, time will tell on that. An anchor. I think religion, despite its faults and its many, many drawbacks, is anchoring humanity in divinity, in the emanation of divinity, and the promise of the ability to transcend your own weaknesses and limitations and shortcomings. To be something greater than yourself, to be part of a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts, facilitating that spiritual connection of the individual and the collective between us and the Most High Creator. The bad things about religion are indeed there, and I don't turn a blind eye to that. To say that Earth would be paradise without religion, I think that's a little too simplistic. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different word, but maybe not. Maybe I am thinking of that word. Because you could make the argument that even before religion and organized religion took such a hold, there was the instinct towards religion, the instinct towards worship, the instinct towards spirituality that didn't necessarily manifest in the way that you might be perceiving religion when you say religion is an anchor. What is it that we are anchored to? Is it only the bad things? Because I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as I say many times. I try to focus on the good. I try to see the good. I don't turn a blind eye to the negative and the bad, but I want to focus and put more emphasis on the good that is in religion as such. So I understand what you're saying, and I don't exactly agree with that assertion, right? Religion, without religion, Earth would be paradise. I do understand you very much when you say that you're an atheist and you believe only in science and logic. That's definitely something I can roll with. MMUD. Madu. What's your story? What was the process of your family coming back to your homeland? And who was the first to come? Why did your family stay? So we were in Judea 2,000 years ago, exiled to Eastern Europe. 3 generations ago, my family came to the United States. Maybe 4. 3 or 4 generations ago, they arrived at the United States. And yeah, 3, I think. And my parents came to Israel and started a family. A true son and daughter of Zion they are. And my family stayed because it was my parents, and some of the family came along, not right there with them, but at any rate, a lot of family still back in the States. Most of my family is in the States. That was the process of coming back to the homeland. So the first to come, my parents. But that's not even true. That's not exactly true. But in the recent, 5 or I don't know how many generations, 5 or 10, yes, my parents were the ones who made the voyage from New York. Okay, scrolling down. How are you people doing? 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. I'm having so much fun. So much fun. Okay. Let's see. To have natural dreads like that, you can't wash your hair for years. That is not true, Clay. I wash my hair regularly. I simply didn't shampoo. I shampooed, but I did not condition for the first 2 years. And I used a shampoo that was clarifying, but without too much, right? And I also used baking soda and apple cider vinegar here and there for the first couple of years. And you wash your hair regularly when you want to grow natural dreads. Obviously, you could also have hair that is unwashed and unclean, and it will dread up. The thing is that if you don't clean the scalp and shampoo regularly and clean the hair, even if not with conditioner from the mid-lengths, the scalp and the hairs over here, if you don't clean that and it gets very messy and dirty and oily, the hairs actually slip past each other and don't lock up. What locks up best is clean, dry hair. That's what locks up best. So you are mistaken. I know. I've been growing this hair for over 16 years. Actually, 18 years. I simply stopped combing and brushing 16 years ago with my Nazarite vow. So, Clay Dabbler, you are mistaken. Can you have dreads like this without washing them? Yes. Is that the only way to get them? No, they just grow like that. Keep the scalp clean, right? And I'm talking whatever shampoo does well with you and that doesn't leave residue. So you're mistaken about that. But yeah. There's nothing quite like natural dreads. Not that I'm not an elitist or supremacist, but I say that there are like a million ways to make dreads and one way to grow them. Are dreads kosher? Depending on how you do them. If you're a woman and you produce them with a crochet or make the knots with your hand and you don't let it happen organically, then it's not kosher for you to go with those dreads to the mikveh, at least by most halachic scholars. Most halachic rulers would say that a manufactured dreadlock is what's called chatzitza, what's called something that is a barrier between you and the waters of the mikveh, of the ritual pool. And so, in that sense, it's not kosher, and you may not, let's say, purify yourself from the menstruation process every month if you have those dreads, at least according to some halachic rulers, maybe nearly all of them. Although things may have changed. If you are, let's say, a Nazarite or somebody who simply grows the hair naturally without manufacturing the knots, then the halacha might be more lenient on that since it's part of the organic process. Hi, I have a question. Are you Jewish? Hi, Studio Talk Time. I would love to have time to talk in your studio. Ding. Yes, I am Jewish, of the kingdom of Judah. And what about you? Without spirituality, the earth is just dirt. Yes, there is something to that, Yosef Israel. There is definitely something to that. I agree. Do you read the Torah, Talmud? Yes, I do. I read the Torah regularly. I've studied Talmud. I'm not a Talmudic scholar. I studied Talmud in yeshiva, and ever since my yeshiva days 20 years ago, I have not opened the Talmud regularly. I've opened Mishnah regularly every now and then, but not Talmud, not Yerushalmi, not Babylonian either. So I do read the Torah regularly, so I'm more of a Torah person than a Talmud person. Also, I'm more of a Torah Jew than a rabbinic Jew in the sense that I don't keep strict rabbinic law. I don't keep strict halacha any longer. For years I did. I no longer do that now. Dia says, interesting, that pool you block yourself from, what is that? A ritual pool where you are purified. It's called a mikveh. A mikveh is a place that for men and women, although now the ritual worship is more on the women who purify themselves from menstruation and birth. Now, when we say ritually clean, ritually pure, this does not mean that somebody who is unclean and impure is dirty. Nothing to do with that whatsoever. It's a natural state of being. It's a spiritual state of being that is also affected by the physical. And it's literally, practically places you can and cannot go, rituals you can and cannot partake of, and so on, and the products of those rituals. So the pool is a purifying pool. It's called a mikveh. It has many different halachas, many rabbinic laws, but it can be also an ocean, a river, a sea, and they manufacture them with living waters, waters that flow. So the pool is a pool you go to. Some go every morning, some go once a week. I used to go once a week for years before Shabbos. I haven't gone in a long time. I go during the high holidays. I go before major holidays as well as the high holidays. I try to get to the mikveh, though I no longer get there regularly. And it's you can think of it as like a womb, right? You are reborn when you go into that mikveh. A mikveh is also something that solidifies a person's conversion. If a man or a woman wants to convert to the Hebrew faith in an orthodox rabbinic way, the last thing that they do is go to a mikveh, and then they are Jewish. They go in a Gentile, they immerse, and when their head pops up from the ritual pool, they are 100% Jewish. So that ritual pool, that mikveh, is something that you build even before a shul, right? If you start a community somewhere of Jews, before you build a synagogue, before you build a house of study, before you build anything, you build a mikveh. Because to be fruitful and to multiply and to have good, hot, kosher sex is what part of the Torah is about. So a mikveh comes first, before a synagogue, before a beis midrash, or a beit midrash, right? Before a study hall, for anything, a mikveh. That is the ritual pool. So men, they say it's a difference in halacha whether or not they are commanded to go before Yom Kippurim, right? The holiday of atonement, Yom Kippur. Coming up. And women are the ones who are halachically bound, let's say, to go to the mikveh after childbirth and after menstruation. But seeing as how it's a purifying thing, again, some people go every day, some people go every week. And you're not supposed to have any blockage, right? You're supposed to be naked without anything, right? You take off any earrings or nose rings or rings. You take off the glasses or this, and you go in there as naked as you were when you were born, right? And you purify yourself in the waters that are flowing. And when you rise up, there's also a prayer that you can say before that of atonement, of returning, of tshuva. It's a beautiful prayer, a beautiful prayer. Make me like one who has just been born and like a convert about to convert. Or that has converted just now. I wasn't naked when I was born. Well, Donnie, see, that's an anomaly. Were you born in a suit like Boss Baby? Interesting, bro. Thank you for telling us. Wisdom, Ankh. Again, it's not my wisdom. Madman. Hi, Madman Voyages. Good morning, Rav. I'm not a Rav. I'm not a rabbi, not even close to being a rabbi. I'm just a simple Hebrew dumbass in the Middle East. Sorry, and a Muslim with a Jew who just used too many lighter can be a friend without a Kabbalized. I don't know what you mean, my man. I really don't know what that's supposed to mean. He is not Anarabam, just one who pray like you, Rabbi. I don't know what you're trying to say. Can you phrase it differently? That goes like way over my head. Damn, bro, you yap a lot. Makes the answers short. Yes, I am a yapper. I can yappity yap with the best of them. So there are times when I do a live Q&A rapid fire, and then the answers are very short. And there are times when I go on and into tangents, and it's like, oh, just stop already. Blah. And some people dig it. Now, if you don't dig it, that's cool. You don't have to be here. Swipe away. Swipe away. Frostio says, Frosty's OS says, being born is Beis Lech, in Beis Lechem, Bet Lechem. Yes, I love his yapping. That's why I watch his stream. Yeah, some people dig it. Research the Kabbalah, Old Bright One. What is Old Bright? What would it be? Atika Zahira? Old Bright? Or Nitzitzu de Atika? I don't know what you mean. Do you mean actual Kabbalah? When you're translating one of those into Old Bright? What do you mean? Your answers are awesome. Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate that. Again, not answering, simply addressing. Answering would mean this is the answer. I don't think that way. Okay, geek, bye. Bye, Mohammed. I am a geek. I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. I'm a dweeb. Jew, says David Fowler. Really? The nose, isn't it? Isn't it a dead giveaway? Beit Lechem was literally a prophecy about HaMashiach, not just any Mashiach, anointed person for a task. Bruh, don't. Okay? I'm a loser, baby, says Philonetic, so why don't you kill me? I'm a loser, and I'm not what I appear to be. What's your favorite Jewish food? I love matzo ball soup. Well, look, first of all, there are those who say there is no Jewish food really, and it's all Israeli food that is now being brought in, like people from the diaspora, from exile, who brought their own culinary Jewish twist on things that were not theirs, and so on. But there were those who say that manna is the only real Jewish food, and another one who says that it was the ashisha. The ashisha is mentioned in the times of David and Solomon, and they say that that is original Jewish food. The ashisha, oh, what is it? The ashisha is given, for instance, at the time of the dedication of the first temple, when Solomon is on his knees with his hands to the sky. It's so beautiful. And the celebration ensues, and they do a 2-week holiday of tabernacles, a 2-week Sukkot festival. And at the end of it, after that, he gives them some meat, and he gives them, oh, what is it? What is an ashisha? I'll have to Google that now. Hold on a second. An ashisha, what was it? A cured or pickled something? Let's see. Ashisha. Okay, so yeah, it's like a cake or a sweet bread or an old grape cake. So yeah, something like that. So it could be that as well. And it could also mean a little bottle, a tiny vessel, a small drum of oil, or a jug of wine. That could also mean that. But a small cake or sweet challah is what is what Solomon gave them, some meat and ashisha and one other thing, I think. At any rate, yes. Lentil pancakes, says Joseph. Really? I don't know if I've ever had lentil pancakes. That's interesting. Clay Dabbler said, I sat next to a Jewish guy on the train. He had the stinkiest food I've ever smelled. Really? I would love to know what that was. I would love to know what that was. Do you love Judaism with all your heart, geek? No. No, because it has its faults. It has its drawbacks. I do love it so, but I also know that loving it with all my heart means to take the good with the bad. And so yeah, I suppose I do love Judaism with all my heart in that sense. So yeah, but I suppose with some reservations. Because Judaism is not the creator, we are commanded to love the creator. Okay. Okay, so why did you decide to stay in Israel, and were you and your parents scientists? Are there farmers there? How does Israel feed itself? So yes, first of all, there are many scientists and farmers here in Israel, many being, we are only 10 million people here. You do the math. But there is quite an agricultural export and scientific export from here to the rest of the world. And a lot of innovation in agriculture and growth of produce and the high-tech industry, of course. So there are, my mother is a molecular biologist researcher. My father is not. He's a different creative. They're both creative, but he's more of an artistic creative and she's more of a scientific creative, which is an art in and of itself. An art in and of itself. Somebody said of my mother, when she was explaining something to someone, one of her students, and he turns to her and he goes, you know, you're thinking like the molecule. You're not thinking of a scientist thinking about the molecule. You're thinking like the molecule. She is a DNA wizard. That she's been named that as well. Something like that. How does Israel feed itself? Well, once again, many things are imported, and many things are grown and produced right here locally. That's how Israel feeds itself. Israel feeds itself with an economy that is doing very, very well and has done very well compared to other times when Israel, not compared to other countries, but compared to other times when Israel was a thing, you know, in the last 80 years of the existence of the state of Israel, 78 years. Why did I decide to stay in Israel? Because I believe I am a Hebrew man and this is where I belong. That does not mean to say that Hebrew people and men and women who are not in Israel are doing something wrong. I simply feel like this is what I'm supposed to be. Clay says, Judaism is the oldest religion but has the lowest followers, true or false? False. It's not the oldest religion. and I don't think it has the lowest amount of followers. Most in the medical field in Israel are Christian, Untitled Me Too. Untitled Me Too says, I would love to Google that for a second and see if that is corroborated by the mainstream AI. The claim that most people in the medical field in Israel are Christian is incorrect. The majority are Jewish. Arab citizens that include Muslim, Christian, and Druze are 25% of physicians, 27% of nurses, 49% of pharmacists. Christians make up under 2% of Israel's total population. That's from GovIL and PubMed Central. So you seem to be mistaken, at least at a glance. AS says, Google it, you useless. Huh? Well, I did. I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but yes. Israel's economy depends on extortion of Americans. I don't think Israel is extorting the world's leading superpower. What do you think Israel has on America that it's extorting it and sort of blackmailing it? What do you think is going on there? What's the mechanism in effect? I would love to know. You're right, it's Hinduism. Yeah, that sounds about right. Hey, Stone Smurf is here, talking about sweet bread and cakes. I'm currently making fruit scones. Great to see you. It's great to be seen. It's nice to have you here. Enjoy the scones. I've never had a scone. Why attack north and south and capital of Lebanon? Joe Mama says. Hi, Joe Mama. Because there are terrorist organizations, Hamas, Palestinian Authority, and Hezbollah, respectively, that are attacking us. We withdrew from Lebanon in 2000. We kept being attacked. We withdrew from Gaza in 2005. We kept being attacked. There was Oslo and Area C, and the West Bank was given control over, which was given to the Palestinian Authority. We still get attacked. And so we gave peace a chance on all of those fronts repeatedly. And we keep getting attacked, and we keep getting terrorism. That is why we are there to actually protect our citizens and the population and the state of Israel, because Hamas, Hezbollah, and Palestinian Authority want to eradicate us, annihilate the Israelis, wipe Israel off the map, and have it be another Arab Muslim state. That is what they want. They won't settle for a piece of it. They don't want a half of it. They won't want Gaza. They don't want the West Bank. They don't want East Jerusalem. This was offered to them repeatedly. They want no state of Israel. That is why Israel is forced to attack. But we withdrew from those places. We gave sovereignty in the Oslo Accords. And we gave the keys to the Jordanian, we gave the keys back to the Waqf, right, of the site of the Temple Mount. We gave Sinai back to Egypt. We've shown that we are interested in peace many times over, in action, word, right, intent, hope. Yet these terrorist organizations are forcing Israel's hand. We are fighting a defensive war against piece of shit, warmongering, bloodthirsty, religious extremist regimes that will stop at nothing and sacrifice every last man, woman, and child in southern Lebanon, Gaza, and the West Bank of the Jordan if it means getting rid of Israel. That is what they are shooting for. That is their endgame. Zero Dvekut, hi, how you doing? Save the land, you're delusional. Save the land said, you don't know shit, Zionist. I do know shit. I do know. There's blacker shit. There's yellow and green shit when you're a baby. There's browner shit. There's shit that hurts. There's a magic shit that comes out very, very quickly and you barely need to wipe. There's shit that sticks to your hairs. They're called dingleberries. Or if you groom, you have no dingleberries, but it still sometimes sticks to the outside of your anus and it causes some issues. You got to wipe or use a bidet or use something. Hygiene and cleanliness are important next to godliness, I'd say. Furthermore, there's shit with air pockets in it, which I've mentioned in the past. Okay? There's runny shit. There's more solid shit. There's the in-between shit. There's the shit that you feel coming and then you sit, but there's no shit. And then later when you're doing some shit, you gotta go shit. I don't know shit, Zionist. Ha! Save the land. You are delusional. Okay. Let's see. What do you think about the Israeli settlements planned in East Jerusalem and Palestinian villages? I don't know, old school. I'll have to see the plans. I did not know of Israeli settlements planned in East Jerusalem and Palestinian villages. So I can't really address it or comment on it, because I do know. L8 says, I'm out. Take care. L87, it's been lovely having you. Thank you for participating. Stone Smurf says, you should try them. You can make them vegan friendly too. Self-rising flour, sugar, soy milk, and a bit of vegetable oil. Spread a bit of jam straight out of the oven. That sounds very good. What type of jam are you planning on putting on your scones? And people, what is your favorite jam? Shout it out in the chat. I'd love to know what your favorite jam, and for all intents and purposes, I'm not differentiating here between jam, jelly, marmalade. It's all the same in this context. What is it? I think mine is just straight up strawberry. I'm a sucker for strawberry jam. I really am. Do people go to heaven based on religious tags, geek? No, there is no heaven in the Jewish faith. For all like the place of eternal bliss. That's not what what's considered here heaven. We don't have that. That's more of a Christian thing, or at least conceptually speaking. So no, people don't go to heaven based on religious tags. I think they go to heaven based on how they live their life. That's it. Yeah, strawberry, exactly, Clay Dapper. I'm with you. Strawberry jam, the king of jams. Strawberry is always fire. Yeah, that's right, that's right, that's right. I love strawberry. Other berries too, right? I mean, blueberry jam and blackberry and others, yeah, sure. Those are more elegant, I suppose. But strawberry, yeah. Old School Stew says, I saw a video in Jerusalem where a bus of Palestinians got stopped for papers. You said they aren't oppressed. They are. Well, first of all, I don't know the circumstances. It could very well be that they were on the hunt for terrorists who were infiltrating, and that they had to check the papers of that bus because they had exact information and intelligence pertaining to something about to happen that very day. These things happen every single day because the terrorist organizations are relentless. People are saying, why checkpoints? Believe me, if you were attacked by terrorists regularly who were blowing up buses, running over people, stabbing people, okay, always, then you would put some checkpoints as well. Tyrone says, are you Jew? Oh, and just at almost the 3-hour mark, the baby awakens. I heard a boy. So I will say a quick thank you. All of you, those watching now, those watching later, shout out to the replay crew. All of you are awesome. The lovers and the haters, the well-wishers and the insulters, the vitriol slingers and the Nazis and the anti-Semites and the trolls and the spammers, the hateful 8 and the brazen 12 and whatever. All of you are welcome here. If I didn't get to you in the chat, I'm sorry. Leave a comment. I address every comment that YouTube notifies me of that's addressed to me. And hit me up in the DMs if you want. Hebrew Nazarite, look for my tree. Was that just a bwah? Did he go back to sleep? Was it just a squawk? Wait, okay, I was glitching, but here I am. Be blessed, be a blessing in other people's lives. And I really, really do hope that I'll see you in the next live stream where the wonders never cease. And now I must go attend to a beautiful little boy. God bless. Peace and love in Jerusalem.